Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and reconvene the special meeting of Folsom City Council for Tuesday, July 11th, 2017. Any final action to report out of closed session, Mr. City Attorney?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. No final action.
Okay, thank you for that. With that, we will adjourn the special meeting of the Folsom City Council and convene the regular meeting of the Folsom City Council for Tuesday, July 11th, 2017. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Council members Gaylord,
Here.
Howell,
Here.
Miklos,
Here.
Sheldon,
Here.
and Morin.
Here. And would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll start off. Are there any agenda updates for this evening?
Yes, there are 4 updates for this evening's agenda. First, on the consent calendar, staff is going to be requesting that item 6D be pulled and continued off calendar. Item 8C has been amended. The amended recommendation is for adoption of resolution number 9965. On item 8D, your council has received an additional letter regarding the item. And item 9B, you have amendments to the resolutions.
Okay. Thank you for that. So with that, next item, please.
Your next item tonight is business from the floor. I believe you have one request to speak from a Janet McCarthy.
And Janet, we weren't sure, did you want to speak to a specific agenda item? Well, we do business from the floor to start. Was there a specific agenda item this related to, or?
No, not specifically, just kind of overall.
Okay, yeah, so we do this at the start of the meeting, just so we don't, this could go late, so we want to, that's why we do these at the beginning of the meeting, so people have an opportunity, don't have to wait through lengthy agenda items. So good evening.
Hello, good evening. Janet McCarthy in Folsom. And I just had a question about, I've come to a few of the meetings. I know we're going to see more of the changes to the general plan, but in terms of south of 50, I'm looking at the subdivision, small lot subdivision map on there, and I just want to know, is there going to be an overall mix of large and small lot development over there? And who has who are the people, who's the committee in charge of making sure that it's a good mix and that we're not just cramming as many houses as we can in that area?
Those are great questions, and what I'll do is have you get in touch with our Assistant City Manager, Elaine Anderson there, and she'll connect you with our community development folks, and they can show you maps and actually the whole history of how that was established.
Okay.
And then if you have other questions, then you can.
Yeah, and then my other concern is the preservation of open space in terms of how can I, as a citizen of the city, make sure that the open space that was outlined in the original plan, it's all preserved and all actually happens. I guess I just need to know what to do with that.
The more oversight, the better, and they'll be happy to show you where that's all delineated now, and
Okay.
yeah, that 1,000 acres there. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thanks. Okay, any other speakers? This one is not, so.
Okay. And no further speakers from business from the floor.
Okay, so moving on to consent calendar. So we're going to take item D after anything else. So do we have anybody else needing to pull any of the other items on consent?
I just want to make a comment about C,
Okay, so we'll pull C for a comment. Any other requests?
and I'm going to recuse from E.
I want
Okay.
to comment on that. Just a comment on F.
On F.
F. So we're, okay, so F, so, okay, hold on. Let me keep all this straight. You guys
So
are messing
I'll
with me
move
here.
A and B.
All right, that's not much, but we'll start there. So, so moved. I'll go ahead and second that. So please call the roll on items A and B.
Council members Gaylord,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Miklos,
Yes.
Sheldon,
Yes.
and Morin.
Yes, and so item C, Madam Clerk.
So item C is resolution number 9962. This is a resolution approving the preliminary engineer's report, declaring the intention to order the formation of the Prospect Ridge Landscaping and Lighting District, to levy and collect assessments in fiscal year 17-18, to provide notice of public hearing, and to direct the mailing of assessment ballots within the proposed Prospect Ridge Landscaping and Lighting District in the city of Folsom.
Okay, Vice Mayor Hall,
And
comment?
my comment on this is basically to community development. No, actually, I'm sorry, I think it goes to Parks, because these are all going through the Parks Department, whoever's putting the engineer's documents together. Most of the maps that were included in the engineer's report are basically illegible. These are coming from an engineer. I would expect the maps to at least have street names on them. So in the future, if we could make sure that those were a little bit more clear.
Okay, very good, thanks, Carrie. So I'll go ahead and move item
Second.
6C and seconded by Councilmember Miklos. Please call the roll on that item.
Councilmembers Gaylord?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
Miklos?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes.
And Moran.
Yes, and I'll go ahead and move item 6D to continue off calendar.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councilmember Miklos. Please call the roll on that.
Councilmembers Gaylord?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
Miklos?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes.
And Moran.
Yes, and I believe I'll just go ahead and move item 6E. That is for purpose of Carrie recusing herself from that item.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilmember Gaylord. Please call the roll on that item.
Councilmember Gaylord?
Yes.
Miklos? Sheldon?
Yes.
And Moran.
Yes. And item 6F.
Just had a question for clarification. Since that's a state park, but it's a Folsom area,
You know, Ernie, why don't we have Krista read
Oh,
the
okay.
item, just so we know what we're speaking of there. So, thanks, Ernie.
Okay, item F is resolution number 9967. This is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Division 515 for construction of the Negro Bar water line replacement project.
Okay, so Ernie, what'd you have?
yeah, my question is, I think I know the answer, I want to be sure. We're going to repair it because we provide the water to it, and therefore, we're responsible for having an adequate water source, is that correct?
Marcus.
Mayor Moore, members of the council, Marcus Yasutaki, Environmental Water Resources Department. Councilmember Sheldon, yes, that is correct. The city maintains and operates the water line to the water meter for state parks, and so therefore, it's currently leaking, and we plan to replace it.
Okay, I move the item.
Okay.
Second.
So moved by Councilmember Sheldon, seconded by Vice Mayor Howell. Please call the roll on that item.
Councilmember Gaylord?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
Miklos?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes.
And Moran.
Yes. All right. Next item, please.
Okay, your next item is old business item 7A. This is a continuation from June 27th, consideration of Willow Creek Estates East Number 2 Landscaping and Lighting District. There's two actions before your council tonight, announcement of the ballot canvas, and if it was successful, a resolution approving the final engineer's report, confirming the diagram and assessments, ordering the levy of assessments for maintenance and servicing of improvements within the district.
Okay, so with that, so are we just at this point announcing the results? Oh, Lorraine?
That's all right.
Good to see you. Good
Hi.
evening. Snuck up on me there.
Lorraine Pagioni, Parks and Rec Department. Just a quick overview. On June 27th, the public hearing for Resolution 9956 was brought before you, and that's in connection with creating the new district for Willow Creek East Estates. The public hearing was opened. There was no public input. The council then directed the city clerk to count the ballots that were received. Members of the public were invited to observe, and we did have a few members of the public there. The clerk, along with consulting staff from SCI, who does our engineers' reports in city, completed the ballot counting after approximately 1.5 hours, so you guys were already home by then. And of the 747 ballots sent out, 392, or approximately 53%, were returned. If there is not a majority protest, then the city council can consider adoption of the resolution 9956. If a majority protest does exist, then the district cannot be formed and at this time, and then the resolution cannot be adopted. So with that, the clerk will present the ballot results.
Thank you, Lorraine.
So, Mr. Mayor, of the 392 ballots received, there was 230 yes votes and 162 no votes. So this represents a 58.79% passage rate, and so there is not a majority protest. The ballot measure has passed, and the City Council may consider adoption of resolution number 9956.
Okay, so before we consider that, any questions for Krista or Lorraine on the process there?
I'll move Resolution 9956.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second that, and then there are no requests to speak on this item?
That's correct.
Okay, so moved by Vice Mayor Howell, seconded by myself. Please call the roll on that resolution.
Councilmember Gaylord?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
Miklos?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes.
And Moran.
Yes. All right. On to public hearing. Next item, please.
So next hearing item is Public Hearing 8A. This is Resolution Number 9968. This is a resolution approving the final engineer's report, confirming the diagram and assessments, and ordering the continued levying of assessments and maintenancing and servicing of improvements within all the city's landscaping and lighting districts.
All right, thank you for not reading that whole thing.
You're welcome.
Good evening again, Lorraine.
Good evening, Lorraine Pagoni, again, Parks and Rec. So before you is our yearly engineers reports with the 27 districts. The assessments are the same this year with the exception of Folsom Heights, number 2, which was an overlay we did in 2013. We had it designed in there that by 2017, the fiscal year 17-18, that there would be a reduction for the residents. So they helped us do a lot of work in the first 5 years, and we've done quite a bit out there. So this year, they'll actually see a reduction. In the main part of Folsom Heights, Enclave is going to see a slight increase, the 3% CPI increase. Other than that, all the other assessments are the same. The landscape and lighting districts are busy maintaining the streetscapes, the medians, the mini parks. Thanks to the recently approved Broadstone assessment that was increased 2 years ago, we've been able to start our repainting and replanting project. You might have seen it along East Bidwell and Oak, and we're about halfway through getting that project done, so we're excited about that. And then, other than that, we're just focusing on water conservation projects and doing energy-saving projects, changing out streetlights and other lights to LEDs at some of the other focuses within our districts. But other than that, everything is moving along well in the lighting landscape districts.
Lorraine, I'd like to say, tell your staff they're doing a wonderful job. Oak Avenue and East Bidwell look absolutely stunning, to say the least. It hasn't looked
Thank
that
you.
good in for years.
Thank you.
So you guys are right on top of it. And I do like the fact you're continuing to stay on top of our retrofits with LEDs. 'Cause that's a huge one, too. And they actually can be seen better
Yeah.
than the current incandescent, so yeah, good job on that.
Good.
So I'd like to pass along to your staff the same thing.
Yes, I agree. Good job. So if you could get the SCI engineers who's doing the reports to
Better
do a
maps.
better job on the maps.
Got that.
And, just one other point of clarification, because I didn't realize that we've got a Folsom Heights LNL that already exists and a Folsom Heights 2 that already exists. For anybody that's here for the upcoming item on the new subdivision called Folsom Heights, this is not the same thing.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a way to eliminate that confusion.
Unconscionable.
Yeah, something to consider
Yeah.
for how we're going to reference it for the plan area.
Okay.
right, thank
Any
you.
other questions for Lorraine? Okay, great job. Thanks, Lorraine. So with that, any requests to speak on this item?
You do not have any request to speak on this public hearing.
Okay, so we will go ahead and.
I'll move 9968.
Okay,
Second?
and second, so moved by Vice Mayor Howell, seconded by Councilmember Miklos. Please call the roll on Resolution 9968.
Council members Gaylord?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
Miklos?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes.
And Moran.
Yes. All right, next item, please.
Okay, your next item tonight is public hearing item 8B. This is on Prospect Ridge subdivision. The council is considering a general plan amendment, rezone, tentative subdivision map, a plan development permit, inclusionary housing plan, and consider adoption of a mitigated negative declaration. There is a resolution and an ordinance associated with this project.
Okay, great, thank you. Good evening, David.
What's that? Okay. Where's the other one? Little technical difficulty
That's
here,
all
Mayor.
right.
We'll get that going real quick.
I'm sure you'll recover with
We have
grace.
two presentations for you, one from us and one from the applicant, and I was about ready to do the applicant, so
Okay.
that would have been a great way to start. So, Mayor and council members, this is an infill project, and it involves a general plan amendment from an industrial zone to single-family residential. It involves a rezone that would accompany the general plan amendment, a tentative subdivision map, a plan development permit, and this is for a 35-unit residential subdivision. Move on here. This is where it's located, right on Levy Road off of Sibley. It has been used until 2010 as a batch plant used by Tykert. And as we know, this whole area, if you look at the aerial, you can see how much residential development has occurred in this area. And over a period of time, one of the issues that you'll see here is the continued loss of some of our light industrial uses to residential because of market demand and not having tenants come in and express interest and utilize the industrial land use. And in this area, there have been several general plan amendments over the last 20 years that have caused some degree of encroachment into the residential into this area. And so you see that the predominant use in this area, in fact, is single-family residential. And I think that's important in the context of looking at your application tonight. A little bit on the background, there was a plan development permit that was approved for the concrete batch plant way back in 1978. They actually had a development agreement with that. In 84, Tyker acquired it and continued the operation of the batch plant facility, and that stopped operation in 2010. The project that you're looking at in front of you is a 35-unit single-family subdivision on a 9.64-acre site. The entitlements are listed under the first bullet, and then some of the factors regarding design guidelines, the access on Willow Ridge Court, an EVA provided to Levy Road, landscape buffer area adjacent to the creek, which is required by the Humbug Willow Creek master plan. And the site improvements include 105 on-site parking spaces, new sidewalk along Levy, and we like to see that because our connectivity is one of the things we're looking for in our general plan to try to connect these areas. Series of walls, fences, and retaining walls are necessary because there is a real difference in grades here, and there will be an issue associated with that I'll bring up in a few minutes. A stormwater detention basin is required, and undergrounding of utilities is required. This is a picture of the subdivision map. As you can see, it's a fairly typical subdivision, and you can see the access. See if I get the right one here. The access coming here off of Levy, and then this is an access for an EVA. We also have, along this area, along the creek, you have a green space right in through this area, and many heritage oak trees as well. Again, this shows the site, shows the uses around it. What we looked at in the plan development permit were development standards. They submitted a development standard design guidelines booklet. Traffic access and circulation were looked at. Parking was looked at. Noise. We have had some noise issues with the, actually from the industrial across the street influencing projects, residential projects, not so much from the proposal, but just the existence of some industrial uses in the area. Looked at the walls and fences, the landscaping area, and the design guidelines. The standards meet standards that are shown for the zone. With the PD, we do allow a little bit of variation. You can see, for instance, in minimum lot area, the R1M standard is 6,000 feet, and they're going with 5,700 feet. But in the minimum lot width, they're a little bit narrower on that. But we believe that they can accommodate the units in the project. They do have a residential builder who is working with them on the subdivision and is delineating the building areas on each lot, and can speak a little bit more, if you're interested, in the change in standards. How do they implement the construction of the housing given those standards? So they do exceed the small lot subdivisions that we've been getting a lot of, and we believe that they will work. And there's a concern over the usable rear yard area. If you look at the very bottom of this slide, there are two conditions that dealt with the usable yard area that was up against the creek. And what we usually look for is a 20-foot setback for usable yard, and in their design guidelines, they had a 20-foot area designated for rear yard, so we thought it was fine. And we were having trouble reconciling that with the lot depth and the size of homes, so we put a couple of conditions in to make sure they were covering the base. And they caught that, came in and talked to us, and they said, look, those houses that are going to be near the creek, the reason that we're not having a full 20-foot rear yard is that we have a very steep drop-off and many, many heritage oak trees that would have to come out. And so they proposed a design solution with a couple of drawings, which I think is kind of creative. First, to provide decks out there, so you're looking right into the trees, and your decks let you enjoy that part of the outdoors. So you don't take the trees out, and you have the opportunity to enjoy the out of doors. And we have this same situation where I drive home along the creek where the Orangevale Bridge is. There are a number of units that were built on that steep slope, and all they have for rear yards is decks. So you can see that we've used that before. And so we worked with them on that, and the deck solution and saving the trees, plus they have some terracing that people can employ and do some landscaping in those terraced areas as well. For instance, if they want to grow gardens, they can terrace. It's not so steep that it can't be terraced. So there are some opportunities to use
We've got a
that.
similar situation on a number of the houses that are along the golf course in Empire Ranch.
Yeah. And so we felt that they had a pretty good solution to it, and, we are running out of lot inventory, and we thought that this was probably a pretty good solution. So when we looked at CEQA, we looked at all of the areas you see outlined here, and we have mitigation measures included in the condition of approval. We did highlight the biological resources, loss of oak trees, because there will be some trees that will be taken out, but we are preserving quite a few, and that does relate directly to this backyard situation. So we have supportive input for this from folks in the area. There was some concern about the impacts to the neighborhood park next to it, but the parks are there for people to use. The applicant has agreed to maintain the rear portion of Levy Park through a landscaping and lighting district. They'll also be maintaining that back area that is right near the Humbug Willow Creek Park, where they're required to keep a setback through the L&L. So if there's any fire issues or maintenance issues, that will be done through an L&L. So at the June 21 Planning Commission, the commission was very supportive, and they did pass it on. I do want you to draw your attention once again to the need to deal with conditions 77 and 78 to allow them to have a shorter rear yard if that's what your desire is, and to make sure we have the proper language for those. We're ready to move ahead with this, and the commission voted 5-002 to recommend approval of the project to the city council, and it's before you for your action on all of these entitlements, and they're spelled out in your action.
Okay, great. Any questions for David?
Dave, are they not putting in more one-story homes in this?
Yes, there are some one-story homes in here, and one of the reasons that they have it's pretty challenging with the lot sizes to pull off the one-story homes, but we all have been asking for them. Anybody who gets to where I am in life, you don't appreciate it. I live in a two-story home. I don't go upstairs very often. And we've had a lot of people telling us, why don't you require that we get more of those? And in fact, they're offering them, so it's good to see that.
Great. Any other questions for David? All right, so we have a presentation by the applicant here then.
Yeah, just if you give them to the officers, that's them out. And let me get yours up. It's right here. We'll get you started, okay? Okay. Be using these arrows to move forward. All right.
This guy doesn't work.
It does, but I use the arrows, and then you've got a pointer out right there. Great.
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now.
Good evening, council
Hey, good
members and
evening.
Mayor Moran. My name is Grant Taylor, here on behalf of Stonebridge Properties, the developer of this project. Thank you, David, for all the work you put in on this project and the rest of your staff in the presentation. I don't want to be too repetitive of David, so I'll try to move through this pretty quickly here. He pretty much covered everything that we wanted to talk to. But I just want to briefly go through who we are as a company, talk about the site very briefly, the plan that we've come up with for this project, how it integrates with the neighborhood, which is important since it is an infill site, and then the modification of conditions 77 and 78 at the very end. So who we are, we're a subsidiary of Tykert Construction. Tykert's been a contractor in the state of California since 1887, 130 years. They've actually got the oldest active contractor license, which is number 8. And we were really created as a real estate development subsidiary to Tykert. And our company is really created around this notion of a property life cycle. Over the years, Tiger has acquired many properties for mining purposes and associated uses like this batch plant site that we're dealing with today. Tiger often reclaims those properties, and where we fit in as a company is on the reuse side. So figuring out what to do with these properties after their industrial life is no longer useful. One example of a project that we did recently is Coldstream. It's a project in Truckee, just south of I-80. It's a 180-acre site that was mined out to build Interstate 80 and a lot of facilities associated with Squaw Valley, Highway 89. And we recently entitled that site for 300 residential units and a lot of conservation elements dealing with the wildlife that's up there. So basically, at the end, our philosophy is that we are a long-term company that leaves a legacy through our post-mining development projects. Moving on to the site, like David pointed out, it's an infill site situated just north of Willow Creek. Taking a closer look at it, it is surrounded by residential uses with a few industrial uses to the north and to the west of the site. Taking a little closer look at the site and the complexities with an infill project here, one of the things that's really characteristic of the site is the topography. There's about a 75-foot grade differential between Levy Road and the toe of the slope that's adjacent to the railroad track, so that was one of the big challenges we had to work with here. We're also adjacent to a wildlife, a open space corridor. The site's got a number of protected oak trees on it that we had to work around. And the site's predominantly surrounded by residential uses like we saw in the aerial and a couple industrial uses. And we really had to kind of balance all this as we approach the site design, the project design rather. So the plan we came up with is a 35-lot subdivision with a double-loaded road and a cul-de-sac at the terminus. We really worked with the topography here and tried to minimize the grading of the site as much as possible and preserve as many oaks that we could near the southern portion of the site adjacent to Willow Creek. As far as tree mitigation goes on the site, there are 114 healthy protected trees on the site. 66 of those are to be removed to accommodate the grading. The remaining trees we've worked to preserve on the site. So we really incorporated a 4-part mitigation strategy, which was avoidance, preserving 48 of those trees. On-site replacement, we're planting 103 new 24-inch box trees on the site. 89 of those are...
Grant, are those going to be oak?
Those will be native oaks.
Okay.
And 89 of those are for mitigation credit. The remaining ones that aren't for mitigation credit are planted along Levy Road for street tree plantings. We are also preserving 10 unprotected native oaks on the site. Those are trees that are too small to fall within the protected tree ordinance. And then we're also paying the mitigation fee of $85,000, which goes into the city's tree mitigation fund. The design guidelines that David touched on are incorporate development standards. That's part of the plan development permit. The home builder will come back later with architecture before the planning commission when he's ready to pull building permits. And then looking how this integrates with the neighborhood, we've got neighbors to the west, north, and the east. So beginning with the western neighbors, recently a plumbing company purchased that site, which is formerly the dog daycare. We have incorporated a 6-foot-tall masonry wall along the upper portion of that site, which really buffers from the operation there. On the lower portion of the site, where there is no operating area, it's an unusable area, we've really incorporated a view fencing there, since there isn't really a lot to buffer from. We've also incorporated a number of tree plantings, you can see on the diagram on the right here, to help with that buffer situation. To the east, we have the Ridgeview Homeowners Association neighborhood. And kind of an interesting thing that we learned as we went through this entitlement process is that HOA maintains Levy Park here. They do the landscape maintenance and the lighting and pay for the water out there. So what we worked with the HOA to do was figure out how we could, how the project could help contribute to the maintenance of that park. And like David mentioned, we are working the landscape and lighting district that will be maintaining Prospect Ridge will also be performing weed abatement and fuel management in an area adjacent to Levy Park that the HOA presently maintains. We will also be keeping the existing masonry wall and metal fencing along that property edge, keeping the trees there. We'll be enhancing the landscaping at the project entrance, and also undergrounding the power lines in front of Levy Park right here, which we're working with the city to do a reimbursement agreement on those. The neighbors to the north, those couple industrial users across the street.
On the power lines, isn't that really a SMUD thing? The power lines?
The cost for the undergrounding is not a SMUD thing.
There's mud lines, but it costs us.
Yeah, it's usually work with the developers to.
Okay.
Yeah. So across the street, to create a buffer condition for those existing industrial uses and prevent conflicts, we've incorporated a 6-foot-tall masonry wall, which is characteristic of the walls that are already up and down Levy Road within the Ridgeview HOA. And we've also planted a number of trees along that frontage as well. And another thing we did was locate the entrance of the project on the east side to avoid conflicts with these driveways here, with this user here, and in that site. Really, the intent there was to avoid traffic conflicts. And then to the south, we have Willow Creek. The Willow Creek design guidelines require a 20-foot landscape buffer. We've actually increased that to 30 feet with this project, and that 30 feet will be maintained by the Landscape and Lighting District. We've also incorporated a bioretention facility here that will treat and meter the stormwater runoff from the project as it flows down into Willow Creek. And now modifications of conditions 77 and 78. Those two conditions effectively require a 20-foot flat backyard space for each lot. And earlier in the presentation, I talked about the difficulties in working with the topography of the site and trying to preserve topography as much as possible. So at the end of the day, a 20-foot flat backyard space is pretty difficult to achieve with a lot of these lots and still get an adequately sized home, especially when we're talking about single-story homes. That would be in the neighborhood of 1,800 square feet. So we believe that we can still achieve the intent of the condition, which is to create usable backyard space with the existing lot layout that we have. And we request slightly modifying the condition to read, the Prospect Ridge subdivision shall provide flat backyard space in substantial compliance with the conceptual floor plan distribution attached as Exhibit A. The final distribution of floor plans within Prospect Ridge, however, will not be established until building permits are sought. And you have Exhibit A in front of you. Here it is on the screen. It shows the typical backyard space for the lotting arrangement within Prospect Ridge. On the two-story plan circled in red, the typical backyard area is about 15 feet. The typical one-story backyard will feature 5 feet of flat area with an option to include a deck. And the deck option will be offered by the home builder as homes are sold.
What would the typical size of the deck be?
I believe it would be 15 feet. 15 feet.
15 by what?
Once you have
Just
this,
deep, be as wide as the want it to be.
I don't think we have a set width of it yet.
Okay.
Grant, could you go back a slide?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm looking at the exhibit you gave to us, and I noticed, like, as an example, on the north side of the project, units 2 through 6, and on the south side of the project, units 19 through 25 have a very distinct, almost like checkerboard type distinction, either I don't know if that's fencing or whatever. Do you have a number, and some of the things are showing up there, and I'm assuming when you say typical, these lot variations, the one that looks like it had a checkerboard, whatever around them, seems to be the smaller lots where you're having the issues versus some of these other ones, like you look at lot 31, 30, 29, and pretty much 7 through 17 have substantially large backyards behind them.
Sure.
At some point in time, I'm not opposed to working with staff and creating some of the options that are out there, but I really wanted, for the purpose of city council and the public, we really need to zero in how many lots these actually affect, because what I'm looking at is a map that tells me, as I'm looking at that, that was the first thing that caught my eye. is there's a reason those things are delineated the way they are compared to the rest of the lots in here. You have them up there as well. So if you can explain what those specific changed lines are, where they look like they're checkerboard and, or whatever you want to call them, why are those outlined significantly different than the rest of the subdivision?
So those checkered lines are retaining walls within the lot.
Okay.
So the lot doesn't end here. It actually goes all the way up to Levy Road here.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
Sure.
But what I'm trying to figure out, so are those the ones that really, at the end of the day, those are really lots of most affected by the 20-foot setback requirement?
Each of the lots would be affected by the 20-foot
Every single
setback
one of them?
requirement. Yeah. So what you see on the screen here is the line I'm tracing here represents an 80-foot deep pad area.
Okay.
So these pads have all been designed to be 50 feet wide and 80 feet deep.
Right.
Then the remainder of that would be the sloped area of the
Yeah, it's
property.
difficult, and thank you, that's a great explanation, because it's difficult to see a flat map and try to remember what the slope elevations are, because north, closer to Levy, is substantially different than south as you drop down the side of the hill.
Sure.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So why we believe this modification is warranted, the site conditions that I mentioned were, we designed the plan to balance the building and pad sizes, topography, and tree preservation. We're also looking at the buyer profile here. A number of baby boomers are seeking single-story homes, and to get the adequate size there, we would need to work with a different condition. If we had the 20-foot setback, those single-story homes would be limited to about 1,200 square feet, which we believe is too small. There's also a broader market trend toward less backyard maintenance, which we believe the smaller backyards is attractive to buyers. There's also opportunities for creative backyard space within these projects. So, for example, the picture here on the bottom shows what a home buyer could do if they wanted to landscape and build a bigger landscape area, if they had one of those sloped backyards. So in conclusion, we believe this is logical and responsible reuse of an inactive batch plant site. The project has been designed to integrate well with the neighborhood. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the project. Planning staff supports the project, and it has not been opposed. And modifying conditions 77 and 78 does achieve an adequate usable outdoor space, we believe.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Grant.
Happy to take any questions if there are
Yeah,
any.
so questions for Grant or David before I open the public hearing?
I got one.
Okay.
I didn't see anything, I see one mention of the JPA right away, and that has to do with providing access to
Right.
get vehicles in there. What I do not see is a requirement for the builder or the property owner to disclose the current use of the rail JPA by trains occasionally.
I don't know that we, Steve, did we have any? I don't think we have a condition to that effect, so if you'd like that.
I just like, I'm assuming that you guys aren't going to have a problem with the disclosure, but we've done that in other subdivisions that were
Right.
built adjacent to that rail alignment. Typically, it's only every other weekend, and it's like either Friday night or Saturday morning, they move the train through there to take it out by the Hampton Inn, and then they do the excursion out there. But I don't want this to be a surprise the first time. There shouldn't be able to hear any whistles or anything at this location because there's no crossings there, but that train does pass by there. And I think that homeowners need to be aware of that. It's probably a really cool thing to watch from your deck with your cup of coffee in the morning, but they need to know what's going to happen.
Sure.
Okay, so any other questions for David or Grant before I open the public hearing? Okay, thanks, Grant. So with that, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and any requests to speak on this item?
You have no request to speak on this item.
Okay, and I don't see anybody rushing up to speak, so I will go ahead and close the public hearing. So with that, I guess we'll just start off with, so is everybody comfortable with just adding a condition to disclose the operation of the?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so if we could
Do that.
cobble something like that up, do we need to do that and kind of memorialize that here this evening? I see the city attorney nodding in agreement, so if you guys could kind of,
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we will add, and I believe Mr. Banks is going to propose to you language for new condition 80.
okay, very good, so we'll work on that on the fly here. And then, so the other item.
And if you guys want to look for one, I'm quite certain it's in, that there's a requirement in the approval for Diamond Glen. Because I know it was in, I put it in Diamond Glen, so I know it's in there.
And then, of course, the request of the applicant to modify conditions 77 and 78. So that proposed modified language there, any comments on that, David?
We support what they've come up with, and we understand there are a number of typical situations in the community that we think look quite nice that have been done this way. So I would take their suggested language, and I think it would work fine for what we need to do
Okay,
there.
so based on what they want, you're comfortable
Yes.
with where that?
So does that basically, effectively, the proposed change to the language would become condition 77, 78 goes away?
78 goes away.
79 gets renumbered,
Right.
and, or we have to renumber everything depending upon where you put that disclosure.
We understand
about the train.
yeah, we understand that those two would come out, you'd replace one, and if we need to move the added condition as 79 versus 80, we'll take care of that.
Okay, because you might want to put that in the noise section.
Okay, so comments from council related to what we were just talking about?
I actually like their proposed ideas for the decks, and
Okay, so-
especially if it's going to save trees.
Okay. Roger,
I'm
any Steve? y'all?
actually very much okay with it. I think it's
I was
very
actually just
creative.
gonna, oh, sorry. Sorry
No,
about that.
I'm sorry. Roger, go ahead.
Roger?
I was gonna thank the applicant for their accessibility and giving us all the information when we met several times. So I like it a lot, so thanks.
Good. Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, and I was going to say, actually, the applicant, one reason I didn't need to meet with them, because I read the staff report and I read the planning commission and everything, and I thought, this is exactly what we're looking for when we have an infill project. We have an opportunity to take advantage, and I said on purpose, advantage of some nice open space behind and in front. And I also look at it as a really nice finishing, finally, that transition from years and years and years ago, when it was a completely different composition, and it's been working its way from east to west. And when you look at transition, a couple more, like the plumber company, now you have the mosque, and across the street, finally on Sibley, you got the apartments. To me, it finishes the transition of that street, so I'm 100% supportive. So that's why I moved the applicant wherever he is, whereas Grant, those guys, that's why I didn't need to meet with you, 'cause I was already happy. You guys did a
Ernie,
great
you have
job.
Yeah, I might argue with them on their comment about the single family. It's for the younger folks. I'm with David. I think it's more for the older folks at some point in time. The one level.
And, I suppose my comment would be, there are always trade-offs trying to create, buildable pads, but at the same time, working with the terrain we have and not overgrading. We've heard comments like, why are you flattening everything? So I think this is a meeting in the middle there. So, so do we need to keep bloviating up here, Steve and Steve, or are you got something there, or?
The answer is yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so what do you have? All right, Steve.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Good
council
evening.
members.
Thanks for working quickly on your feet there.
You're welcome. I would recommend modifying condition number 26, which addresses noise and other related issues
Oh, okay.
associated with surrounding land uses, to add the language that the owner applicant shall disclose to future homeowners that the project is situated adjacent to continued railroad uses within the JPA corridor.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
is that acceptable to council?
I just want to make sure it's included in those purchase and sales agreements. Not that anybody's going to read them, but if they come here to complain, I can tell them, I really wish you'd read that document when you signed it.
And then any further memorialization of what we talked about related to 77, 78? Are we all good on that, Steve? Has that been clarified in the?
Yeah, that is clear.
Okay.
Thank you,
okay.
sir.
Very
Well,
good.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and move to continue Resolution 9964 and move to introduce ordinance number 1275, first reading.
But I'll second.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Miklos, seconded by Vice Mayor Howell. Any other questions, comments? All right, with that, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gaylord?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
Miklos?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes.
And Moran?
Yes. All right, thanks.
Compliments to everybody on this project. You hit a home run.
Okay, so next item, please, under public hearing.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
sure,
We also need to introduce the ordinance as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I apologize. Okay, so
it-
Resolution 9964 is continued to,
Yes, and then
Thank
I
you.
moved,
I
to
appreciate
introduce-
that.
then I moved to introduce first reading of the ordinance.
thank you.
Is that
You're
okay
welcome.
that we bundle that together for efficiency?
That's fine, thank
Okay,
you.
all right, thank you. Thanks, Steve.
I owe you.
All right, well, good evening again, David.
One more, Mr. Mayor and city council members. This is a subdivision in the south of Highway 50 or in Folsom Ranch. It's located in the, whoops, that doesn't work too well. Let's see what's going on here. You're going to get to see it backwards here.
You go.
You know, so let's see if I can go this fast forwards for you. Here we go.
Okay.
So we're looking at a large lot vesting tentative subdivision map. You all know that when we do phasing, we develop the large lot maps, so you know what's built first, second, third, and fourth. So we have that map. We also have the tentative subdivision map with that, and we have a development agreement amendment in front of you and a minor administrative modification. The site that we're looking at is the site that is located in the northernmost portion of the south of 50 area against the El Dorado County line. The large lot vesting tentative map is subdividing 189.7 acres into 25 parcels. That it comprises open space, single-family, high-density, single-family, some general commercial up near the freeway interchange, some multifamily residential, and public and quasi-public. And by the way, this does respond, I believe, to Mrs. McCarthy's question about diversity of densities, because within this project you have a wide diversity of densities, everything from apartments to single-family. Small lot tentative subdivision map that we're looking at tonight is dividing the 189-acre site into 470 single-family residential lots. It has 2 access points, and when we get to the drawing, we'll show those to you. Empire Ranch Road and Prima Drive. Has public streets, a homeowners association with CCNRs and design and development guidelines. There is a minor administrative modification that we're using on a lot of these projects. That's something that we made available in the specific plan for south of 50, and it allows you, if you're going to move open space a little bit and your lotting patterns change things, that as long as we keep the 30% requirement and it relates to the areas that need to be in open space, we allow them some flexibility. And so that's what we're looking at here. And then we have a development agreement amendment as well. This is what it looks like from above, looking at the lotting pattern. You see the commercial land up here. You see the various densities of single family and the lotting patterns here, and the higher density apartments would be over on near the more traveled roadways and as a buffer against both the residential and the commercial land.
So David, just for sake of orienting ourselves, so the roadway, the main arterial on the left side of that diagram, is that
That's Empire Ranch.
Empire
coming
Ranch?
around.
That's an
Yeah.
extension
Yeah.
across the freeway of
Right.
Empire Ranch Road.
And you can see the freeway right up here.
Right,
And then
okay.
there's open space as well.
Okay.
You can see also in this upper area, they're taking, as you see the natural drainage, and also to give some buffer against the existing development on the other side, you have open space throughout this area. This is a map that does show the phasing that was proposed as this map went through the process, and it shows, whoops, excuse me, gotta get my buttons right. Phase 1, 2, 3A, 3B, and 4. So as you would guess, the commercial comes last because you need to populate the area before you can put the commercial in. We gave a little bit of history here because there has been a dispute that you've all heard about that deals with whether or not Prima Drive access and the utility easement should be used as an EVA, which is an emergency vehicle access, or a full roadway. Now, when we talk about the first item on this bullet, Prima Drive access and utility easements were recorded in 2000. This was done between the Board of Supervisors and City Council members talking about various locations at which we'd have crossings in El Dorado County, north of 50 and south of 50. As a matter of fact, before we ever annexed this, the county was negotiating and did negotiate this easement, and we were concerned about it because we knew eventually we'd be down there. So this easement was negotiated between El Dorado and Sacramento counties in 2000 and recorded. Now, when we use EVAs, it's important to note that they're emergency vehicle accesses that are secondary. What does that mean? That means the primary way that your emergency vehicles get into the development is not an EVA, it's an open roadway. So when you look at a development like this, and remember, people aren't here yet. If they were in this hearing, you'd have other people represented by whether or not this is a good idea. We have people from El Dorado County that don't want a full roadway. We have a few people that don't even want an EVA. The problem is that because of the arrangements that have been worked out between the El Dorado County Fire Department and our fire department, the primary access to get to people for health and safety is on Prima Drive. A secondary EVA access would be provided elsewhere, but this is the primary access. Why? Because this is the quickest route to get in and to provide for public safety and health.
Well, and just to further clarify, you just said that was worked out most recently with Folsom Fire Department, but in 2006, that was worked out between El Dorado Hills Fire and Sac County.
That's right.
Not the city of Folsom.
That's right. And so we have a situation where if we do go, as the planning commission has recommended, with this as an EVA, you're forcing the longer trip to the incident to take the longest route rather than have the quickest route in.
And I guess that's especially important initially related to the fact that the first fire station Folsom will build down there will come a number of years later. So because of the mutual aid agreements between City of Folsom and El Dorado Hills Fire, really for a number of years, they're going to be primarily the first responders to an incident there.
And that is exactly why, when we brought this to the Planning Commission, we followed everything that had been done and negotiated in the past and recommended a full road improvement, because that's what had been negotiated. And for public health and safety reasons, the public health and safety professionals said that is what we should be doing. And so we recommended it that way. Now, let's go on down the bullet list. The Sphere of Influence Amendment was approved in 2001. The Stonebriar subdivision map, which is the subdivision adjacent that is near Prima or at Prima, their map was approved in El Dorado County in 2001. The construction began in 2002. In 2006, the El Dorado County Fire Department required an access easement. The annexation that we did for south of 50 was approved in 2012, and we inherited whatever that arrangement was, and we now own it. The Folsom Heights subdivision came for a general plan amendment and specific plan in 2016, and we've begun the infrastructure improvements in that area. So if you look again at the general plan, the specific plan consistency, these two drawings, the one on the left is the specific plan, the one on the right is the finished lotting plan. As you can see, they're incredibly similar given the specificity you go to with a tentative map. So they're very consistent.
So, David, explain to me on the EVA, what does it look like? Does it have barriers or border, like?
Well, here's the issue on an EVA. Most EVAs, they're wide enough to get a fire truck through. So you have to put some impediment there if you don't want traffic to be using it. And the difficulty, and you'll probably hear from our fire chief, the difficulty is even if it's an automatic gate, you can imagine emergency EMT people having to find out, well, which gate control, because we have them all over the place. And if they're a secondary entrance and they've already got a truck in the other way, or it's blocked and they have to get in this way, it's kind of a last resort. So you either use a gate control or you have removable bollards or something like that, but it causes a delay. And that's extremely important when you're talking about public health and safety in an emergency. So the EVAs generally have some kind of an impediment to keep people from using them so that they, can be removed and they can get through.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add one point, just for clarity, and the council will recall this, but for the benefit of others, the reasons why El Dorado Hills Fire was negotiating with Sacramento County way back, near a decade ago, was that this area in Sacramento County is actually in El Dorado Hills Fire Service jurisdiction. That service jurisdiction was not detached as a result of the city's annexation. And so while we in Sacramento County and in El Dorado Hills use a service response formula of the closest unit within fire, and that works very good in this region. So we will often respond with our resources into El Dorado Hills. They will often respond with their resources into Folsom. There is, in fact, an area within the city limits that it has not detached from El Dorado Hills Fire and is their service area, and that is in this area here, even though we will respond at a time because we will be the closest unit.
Thank you, Everett. This is the subdivision map, and it shows some cross-sections, and this is for the large lot to enable the different land uses to be subdivided separately and disposed of separately. The small lot subdivision map, which we're looking at here, shows all of the single-family lots, and it also shows the Prima Drive connection right here. As a matter of fact, as we look at an aerial, you will see that there is a road stubbed off of this cul-de-sac that's already been partially built in anticipation of this connection being completed.
Hey, David. Hey, David, can you go back one more?
Yes.
So is this right here always going to be a cul-de-sac, or is it going to be, will that have access through here as well?
I'd have to look at the master plan for that. Yeah, it will have access eventually.
So you'll have access here.
Right.
And then this will be EVA, a potential EVA or full-on access, and you still have access through here, down to here, right?
Yes, and I think as Everett indicated, you know, when we went through our tax, we have to negotiate with all the taxing agencies before we annex, or they'll oppose us at LAFCO. And we went through that negotiation with the El Dorado EID and the fire department. They were loath to give up any of that jurisdiction because the ramifications in terms of the tax base they gain are vastly increased when they're a multiple county server. So they wouldn't move off of that. Therefore, they have some authority and jurisdiction because this is in their service area. So if this needs to be serviced by them, it's in their service area, they're going to be coming in this way. So really, we should be hearing from them, and I believe they have a representative here this evening to talk to you and tell you what their feeling is about that connection and what it ought to be.
David, did you have any of these professionals speak at the Planning Commission?
We did work with the fire chief, and our fire chief was at the Planning Commission meeting.
Did
Yes.
he testify?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if the El Dorado Fire, I don't think they were at that meeting, but our fire chief was, and he had done the research to talk to them and find out what the arrangements were. So there are some trail system modifications, and, you know, there have been some issues from El Dorado County, and part of what the developer did, whoops, excuse me again, is, boy, I'm just not doing too good today, is to take a trail, which is right here, and move it to here and just leave this open space and not have activity against the property line. So there have been a number of accommodations to try to make it a little less accessible, a little fewer people near those units. The administrative modification is so little that, you know, it's kind of like trying to find Waldo, because you can see this is a little different with the open space up here, but there have been very few changes, and it's very, very close to the specific plan. So when we evaluated it, we looked at the architecture and the design. They did submit their design guidelines. We did do a supplemental traffic access and circulation analysis, noise analysis, grading and drainage, utilities, off-site improvements, biological resources, and inclusionary housing. All of those were looked at as this was evaluated. We did do an addendum to the Folsom Plan Area Environmental Impact Statement and Report for this project to make sure that those things that were disclosed in the additional environmental work were covered. Concluded that no changes in circumstances would result in new or substantially more significant environmental impacts compared to the analysis that was originally done. We did public outreach. That was done, most of it was done by the developer and their consultants with the Rolling Hills Community Service District. I believe they have representatives here, and they've been very involved in this process. You can see what the extent of that is from the slide. a resident communication and concern. They were concerned about public notification, impact of property values, traffic, noise impacts, and environmental impacts. At the May 3rd, 2017 Planning Commission meeting, the commission expressed concerns about the project, and it was continued to June 7th. And at the June 7th meeting, the city staff and applicant provided a comprehensive overview of the project to address commission prior concerns. The applicant proposed to restrict Prima Drive to an EVA only in response to concerns raised by El Dorado Hill residents and commissioners. And 8 members of the public spoke supporting the EVA use of Prima Drive. So the commission supported the project and voted 5-0-2 to recommend approval. I will, though, reiterate, though, it's quite often when we make recommendations to the Planning Commission, they do get modified, and we recommended a full road that was modified to the EVA. The reason we recommended the full road is for health and safety reasons. So modifications of the project. We are prepared this evening, should the City Council want to go with the recommendations that we currently have, to stick with those documents that were passed on to you from the Planning Commission. However, in the event that you do want that to be a full roadway, we do have the modified conditions to go with it and phasing plan. So we're prepared, rather than having to recess and keep you here later or continue it, whichever way you go, we have the proper conditions and we have the proper phasing to relate to it. So whatever the council's pleasure is, we're prepared to respond to that this evening. This shows the EVA itself. It shows within the right-of-way how narrow the EVA is. And it's certainly, it's wide enough for one truck, but it is not what we would build as a regular road. So when you see, this is the original project plan, and this is how it was to be phased. If we were to, that's with the EVA and this is what they originally proposed, which was to be able to get through there. Excuse me, this is the non-EVA here with a full road. And this shows a narrower and identifies it as an EVA. And they would have to access the project through this connection.
And that's really Alder Creek coming up from that direction, okay.
So they would have to build substantially more roadway, and that was their concern in doing this. And so when you see a full road, and you see full Prima Drive, if you remember the other drawing, was significantly narrow, and this is just a typical, like you see here, and in this aerial you see the stub out that's already been constructed, but this is the roadway. It goes through an open space area. It is not directly abutting homes. And this is a shot of the existing stub out from Prima. So we would recommend the City Council approve this subdivision according to the actions that you have in front of you. But the one main question you still have to grapple with is to render a decision on whether you want this to be a full road or you want this to be an EVA. And I believe there are people here to speak on that, and you probably have speaker cards.
Great, so questions for David before I open the public hearing?
I'll wait.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. So we do have a number of requests to speak on this. You have three minutes to address the council and the community on this item, so.
Do you want the applicant?
Oh, sure, I didn't know, Tim. I didn't know you were in the queue here, so.
Right, Mr. Mayor,
okay.
I guess I should have put a speaker card in, but for the applicant, Tim Tarrant.
Okay, great.
Clay Loomis is here, he's our project manager. Jim Ray from McCann Somps, our lead civil engineer, and Donna Pasquantonio Leslie, also from McCann Somps, who's our planner and designer. I don't have a lot to add. Staff, Dave did a really good job giving you the overview. We obviously think this is going to be a very beautiful project given where it is. We think it's going to meet or exceed Folsom's standards for excellence. We're very proud of that. We're in agreement with all the conditions, all the staff recommendations on the development agreement, the minor modification, and the design guidelines. I do, however, need to address the Prima Drive matter just quickly. I want to say that we obviously proposed the project initially with Prima Drive as a complete street. There was a lot of opposition, and we had actually been working with the CSD board on an agreement to, for forest maintenance and whatnot. But then when the opposition arose, we started rethinking the whole situation. And so we did agree at the Planning Commission to limit this to an EVA. And we don't want to renege on that commitment. We're willing to do that as well. But I think it's really important to recognize that this is a city council decision that needs to be made for the best interests of the citizens that you represent. And we're okay either way. What we cannot have is what has been proposed by some members of some constituents in El Dorado Hills, and that is that a condition on our tentative map, which says that we cannot record a final map unless and until we have an agreement with the Rolling Hills CSD for anything. And the reason for that is because that would give them veto power over our project. Now, as I said, initially we were actually talking to them about that kind of an agreement because we thought in good faith that, hey, if we had an agreement, it would be a good thing to do as a neighbor, and that would be the end of it. Well, now we know that, first of all, we're not sure that board could ever agree on anything given the level of opposition that we saw at the Planning Commission. And even if they did, it might be subject to a referendum within that CSD. It might be overturned. So that kind of a condition would really be a veto authority for them over our project, and we simply can't have that. We will continue to be good neighbors, and we want to work with them wherever we can, but we can't have a condition of that type. So I did want to make that comment. So with that, that's all I've got. I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you'd like me to come back up and respond after your public testimony.
So stand by, but Ernie, got a question for Tim?
Tim,
Yes.
one question.
Yes, Councilman.
The road doesn't affect the circulation within your project, right? It's primarily safety and health.
Yeah, so the reason we really wanted Prima Drive at the outset was we weren't sure that Alder Creek Parkway was going to get built in time to access our project. In fact, it's being built today, so that issue went away, which meant, yeah, we could live with an EVA there because we have other access off Alder Creek.
Okay.
Now, that was the only consideration. We weren't thinking in terms of other health or safety issues that you might have to consider because we were just looking at access.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay,
Any other questions for Tim?
thank you very
Okay,
much.
Thanks, Tim, and sorry for forgetting about you there. So with that, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing.
Okay, your first speaker is Stephanie Haley, and Stephanie will be followed by Matt Seitz.
All right. Good evening, Stephanie.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Haley. I live at 631 Stonebriar Court. My backyard actually backs right up to this EVA through street, whatever we're standing here trying to decide on tonight. Coming in today, I was under the impression that it was going to be an EVA road. So I'm prepared to, explain and talk about my concerns. I'm actually a realtor. I've been a realtor in El Dorado Hills for 20 years. I've been living in this house for 16 years. I was one of the first people to buy this general plan book of this community that Folsom Heights is ready to build. My big concern is, obviously, my whole left side of my house, I have a third of an acre, backs up to this EVA road. Our CSD in our jurisdiction, we have to have open fencing. When I found out that this road was turning into a road, a full-blown access road, of course, it came to be my big concern. I had no community outreach, whether the CSD and the applicant got together, made the special meetings. If I knew there was going to be a road being constructed behind my house as a realtor, I certainly would have been made special arrangements to be at those meetings. So it came to a big surprise to me, and that's why I'm standing here. I'm not here to argue the development. I'm a realtor. I'm excited. I've been waiting for this for years since I've owned my house. My concerns are, and I understand the applicant, has a lot of challenges being in 2 different counties and 2 different jurisdictions. I happen to be in the CSD one. Again, it's all a surprise to me. There was no knocks on the door. You just do that. I mean, my open fence, and what is the road just going to start being plowed through my backyard? And again, I was also getting ready to prepare to do a new wrought iron fence for $10,000. I asked the the Cal Atlanta Homes to come and give me an estimate. So just to understand the location of my property. So I'm actually standing here just asking the applicant if this, or to council, if you guys approve the emergency vehicle access road, which I was assuming that's why I was standing here. Great. I agree, you know, have it, but I also want to have 4 conditions if that road is approved of being an emergency vehicle access only, that the materials of the road are grasscrete and not a paved road of any sort. I'm asking for a condition that there's 2 breakaway gates, or I heard the word ballards of some sort, that it is used only for an emergency, whether it be fire or police or whatever, whoever can use that road, and utilities, I think I saw on one of the maps. I'm also asking for a condition of a recorded deed in whichever county it lands in, whether it be El Dorado or Sacramento, or El Dorado or Sacramento County, that deed specifically states that emergency vehicle access remains a road, only that, and never to be a through street. And I'm asking this some solutions to help us as the immediate backyard neighbors that back up to this road. And to actually keep some of our equity in our homes. I mean, because it's going to be a disaster for the people that are backing up to that road. And you don't have to go through that. You can figure that one out on your own. And lastly, I'm asking that we have a buffer area too. Just new communities coming behind. We live on open space for 16 years. We're expecting you guys to come. I'm open with open arms, but I'm thinking, since this road being the emergency vehicle access only, maybe put an amount of dirt with a masonry 3 to 6 foot wall on the top of it, and solve all of our problems so we don't see here or whatever. Those are just some suggestions that I have, just to, mitigate some of these problems I think that's going to happen. And again, the surprise of even today, I don't know if it was whatever road it's going to be, it keeps changing. Every map keeps changing. Every time I look at one, every time I read something, it keeps changing. So that's all I have, and hopefully consider and, help us out a little bit, being the good neighbors that we're trying to be.
I think it's probably important for the folks that live in El Dorado Hills to understand that the proposed development is entirely within what is now the city of Folsom city limits.
Correct.
And it's entirely within Sacramento County.
Yes.
And it sounds like perhaps a little bit of your concern about why did no one tell us is really going back to 2006, when the El Dorado Hills Fire Department was negotiating with Sacramento County.
Well, we didn't know, but I didn't know that there was going to be a road behind us, because according to this book and all the maps I've seen up to like probably 6 months ago, that little Prima Road never went through. I'm looking at it. I've taken maps. I've called the person that made the recent map. They won't answer my questions. The applicant was at my house. He sees my concerns. He was over there. He knew my concerns. So now I'm just asking. I'm not trying to fight the road or anything. Have some consideration for this open fence. I mean, I have an open fence. Go look at it. We have to have it. CSD. So what do I do with my open fence? Do I just have the road and the people and the pedestrians that are supposedly be walking back there? I mean, that's dangerous. I mean, you guys are worried about the danger, and it seems a little bit of a rush situation anyway. I mean, maybe wait for your schools and your parks and your off-site fire department stations to be there before you move in the extra 500-plus people. I mean, that's dangerous right there. But I'm willing to, and that's what I'm just saying. Just if, we're doing the access road, that's great. That's fine and dandy. But maybe help the neighboring people right there. And like I said, it was a surprise. It's certainly a surprise. I'm still surprised, even standing here trying to think they still wanted to make it a through street.
All right.
So
Great.
that's my 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, next speaker, please.
Your next speaker is Matt Seitz, and Matt will be followed by Ellen Post.
Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Matt Seitz. I'm the president of the Rolling Hills CSD. I've been working with the developer Clay over the past, few years. So I appreciate, you guys taking our testimony from that sense. We are a public jurisdiction. We are not a homeowners association. We're just a very small jurisdiction that encompasses 400 people. Folsom happens to encompass much more than that. With that being said, our quote-unquote tax basis and the revenues that we have come in to our jurisdiction are mainly to take care of our parks, our roads, our lighting within this area. That's all we handle. We don't handle any CCNR enforcement or any of those other issues. It's just parks, roads, and lighting. It's the only thing that we support. We have a very, I'm not going to say robust, but we have a very dedicated community, and it's a small community. Again, we're only 400 residents. This specific road, Stonebriar, only maintains 290 of those households as a thoroughfare. The other portions of the community are serviced by other roads. So we have a single point of entry on Stonebriar. Prima Drive is not a, it's only a ancillary road that comes into feeding the backside of the Springfield Meadows area of our jurisdiction. That being said, we don't have a lot of traffic there, and the implication of a full road going into this, and trust me, we're very well aware of public safety and the concerns on that end. We want to make sure that public safety is there for everybody, going both ways. So the immediate concern of whether this is an EVA road or if this is an actual full road, there's context on both ends, and of course, Tim had brought up, some of the issues that have been presented. One of the main concerns is how it affects our parks and how the traffic load within this area affects us. Knowing that the service level goes down a little bit overall, but not, majorly, it's basically a twofold increase in traffic. 290 residents with whatever is being provided. I think it's roughly about 500 or so, depending on the phasing and how this works. We're certainly in favor of making sure that this is just an EVA road. If it's two-lane, God forbid, then that's something that we would effectively kind of work with in order to get vehicles in and out. We dealt with a fire, I think probably about 3 years ago, and so we know what the impacts of getting life safety equipment in to put those fires out. One of our board members had that issue. His house and his property was burned, so we're very, very tied into that. We cut our fire breaks. We make sure that those areas are taken care of. If it comes down to, for some reason, that a road has to go in order to make phase one work, we would like to find some way to have that road abandoned when the project is fully built out. So all phases, even if it gets to phase two, phase three, where the 2 points of access for fire, or whenever that fire station comes into that area, we'd be happy to abandon that and just turn it into a strictly EVA road. I can't represent all the neighbors here from the sense of what happens with their property. I can only represent the district itself and how it affects us. So with a minimal amount of revenue source to maintain these roads, the additional traffic, we had started working on an MOU that included a CFD to take care of these roadways and to help supplement some of the parks impacts that we're going to have with the inclusion of phase one and phase two, the additional houses, until Folsom gets its park system put into place. So we have that additional circulation issue within the community that we need to find some balance to.
Okay.
So I know I'm over my time.
Right. So this requirement of wrought iron fence, is that the Rolling Hill CSD that requires that in certain places, or is that an HOA requirement, or where's that coming from?
We don't, it's actually El Dorado Hills Fire. So it's not a HOA issue. We don't have HOAs within our.
Okay.
We only have CCNRs, and it may be in the actual CCNRs.
But the point is El Dorado Hills Fire District is requiring open fencing?
Yeah, it's open fencing. So Cal Atlantic, which just built there, they had to have open fencing as well in order to fight fires, to have that visual connection.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
Okay, next speaker, please.
Your next speaker is Ellen Post.
Good evening, Ellen.
Good evening. My name's Ellen Post. I live at 632 Stonebriar Court. I'm level to the whole project as well as the road that was planned. So I think the only reason there's so much confusion here tonight is that we really were not informed that there was going to be a 60-foot road. That road would have been literally feet from my open backyard. We don't have wrought iron fences. I have a rickety kind of chicken wire wood fence that does need replacing, but it's not safe to have a bike. They had a bike trail and trail behind our homes and then down through that little strip of open space. And I would like it if we could put that map back up, because I don't think it's really clear how this is impacting us.
The bike trail's been moved.
I know, but, so I'm just giving you some background on why. So those are our homes right on the corner there. And so that's why we were opposed to a road of that size. And so the EVA road was a good solution, and we are happy with that solution. We just don't want it to then turn into a two-lane road when, you know, we just want to guarantee that it isn't going to turn into that, and then bike lanes put in and people walking behind there. So I think it is a safety issue for sure, as well as fire, if a two-lane road with people, you know, walking back there and riding their bikes through there. The other thing is down there at the bottom, that's our neighborhood. That doesn't go right out to White Rock. They would come, that's a hill here and a hill here, so they were going to have it come down into a four-way stop and then go through the neighborhood out to White Rock Road, which would have been a tremendous traffic problem. And that's documented, but the maps have not been that clear, and these people that live here, that's their open space also, and they've paid premiums along that Sierra Monte for open space. So we just want a little buffer, a little bit of, you know, keeping our home values where they're at. We'd never be able to sell our home with that kind of a project behind our house. So we're very happy with the EVA road. We just want to make sure it doesn't turn into something else, because to be honest, there hasn't been a lot of transparency with this project. We weren't notified, you know, public notices weren't sent out on time. I tried to call the staff who didn't call me back many times. So I just think we just want you guys to do what's right. And we thought last meeting that the Planning Commission had a good solution, and then we get here and all of that's crossed out on your agenda. So, you know, we're just feeling a little bit disappointed that it's not going to just go as planned.
David, can we put the other map back up that shows where the trail is now and what remains open space?
Even the buffers behind our house aren't as wide as they show. See it over here on the right? That's my property right on the line, and it's right on the road there. So, and then behind Stonebriar, those are open fences too. So we're already exposed to this tiered, it's all tiered on the hill down into and our property's flat. So we're going to lose all our privacy from that already. So we just don't want to have headlights coming in our house all night. So that's really the primary reason.
So what was the neighborhood's understanding of that road that was stubbed out and sitting there?
It said Folsom Heights on the agenda, and I did for CSD, and we did look at the minutes, but it never said anything about a 60-foot wide road. So there was no specific information given to any of us.
Is this at the recent meeting, or is this at the meeting something that happened in 2006?
All these past meetings that people are talking about.
This agreement between El Dorado Hills Fire and Sacramento County was 2006.
Right, but they didn't say the road was going to be that big and that close to our homes. It was the design of the road that was never shared anywhere. So we just found out that it was going to be that big, and that it was going to be primary access, which would be construction traffic, all the construction trucks coming up through that.
That's not going to happen.
Not now, I hope.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, okay. So that was our concern, that would just be insane to have, you know, that kind of backup in our neighborhood. So.
Okay.
Any other?
Nope, I think that's
Okay.
it. All right, great. Thanks, Ellen.
Thank
for coming
you.
out. Okay, so no further requests to speak? Okay, so with that, I'll go ahead and close public hearing on this item, and
Mayor, were we going to hear from anyone from El Dorado Hills Fire, or do we need to, or?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there anybody here from El Dorado Hills Fire?
Okay, hold on a second here.
I thought I heard David say somebody was here to address us.
You're doing
Fire
mutual
chief.
aid for El Dorado Hills right now?
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, El Dorado Hills Fire Deputy Chief was unable to attend. He's out of the area. I did communicate with him earlier today as well, though.
So, so I guess since you're up here, Chief, and certainly, before I ask my question, we understand a lot of our fire guys are everywhere but here, which is good. So, so anyway, thanks for all their service. But, so this, you know, what's the sense of, you know, the fire professionals on this? You know, we've heard this background that it sounds like it was very important a number of years ago that this really be, you know, unimpeded access for, you know, life and safety reasons. So, you know, not to put you on the spot here, but
Yeah,
welcome,
absolutely.
welcome to the job. So,
Yeah, thanks. Well, Mr. Mayor, I did have an opportunity to review that letter as well. It was dated December 6, 2006, and it actually called for multiple easements into El Dorado County. We're asking for one into the area so that Fire Station 87 from El Dorado Hills can provide service to that area. They're about a mile, 1.4 miles or so to that area is what we calculated, somewhere around there. We're over 3.5 miles away to provide service to that area. But part of it is also not just El Dorado Hills providing service to our area, but it's someday when we do have our fire station and/or if their current fire station is serving someone else in the area, we can actually access that neighborhood near that location there in El Dorado Hills and provide service for them. And also for any fires that may arise between the two county lines there in that little area where there was a fire a few years ago. So for those reasons, we're asking for that road to be put in place there. We have 3 different roads that our fire code allows us to require. The first one is a major or primary road, which would be 27 feet minimum, unobstructed. And then we have one that serves single-family resident subdivisions, primarily for the houses themselves, and those are 24-foot wide. And then we have one that's called Other, and that's the one we were asking to apply here at a minimum, or whatever you decide to apply, something wider, and that would be a minimum of 20 feet, and that would be considered an Other emergency vehicle access roadway. But either way, whichever one you decide that we apply, if you decide to apply one at all, we would ask that you would consider our access to El Dorado Hills and their access to Folsom. In addition to that, if there are any obstructions within that road, they would need to meet our requirements. So gates, we don't really accept bollards, but gates, something to consider on gates is that they will create a delay. So if there is a gate on either side, you could expect, as you probably would coming into a gated subdivision, 30 seconds or so when you sit outside waiting for the gate to open for each gate.
But
So-
entering those gates is all pretty standard, as I heard somebody say fumbling with some kind of opener or whatever, but there's a standard operating procedure with those, right?
So we have 3 different ways to access gates in addition to whatever El Dorado Hills would require to get to our side. But we could either open it with a key, we can click our radio and access it, which is our preferred route. And the other way is for our Opticom, which is our flashers to, from our code 3 lights to open the gate. So we would require the 3 different options so that we can open them at any time if a gate is installed. And then you'd have to consider a delay as well for each gate, up to about a minute, I would say, 45 seconds to a minute for both gates to allow El Dorado Hills Fire to access that subdivision and us to access El Dorado Hills when we need to.
okay, great. So questions for Chief Rodriguez? Thanks. Thanks for the clarification, Chief.
Very good.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just.
Yes.
For, again, in terms of clarification, because this stuff, and I won't be the first one to admit that easements are easy to read, but I do want to point your attention to attachment number 29 of your staff report, which is the Prima Drive Road and Utility Easement documentation that does show a map as Exhibit B, showing an easement that varies in width from 60 feet to 84 feet from the Sacramento-El Dorado County line up through the subdivision in that area. So there are documents in the record that establish the width of these
Everett,
roads.
which page are you on out of 469?
384 out of 469.
So let's just stay on that subject for a second, because, we start talking about road widths and whatnot. So kind of getting to this attachment to look at it, but is that easements or road width that is diagrammed in there?
This particular diagram is just that of the easements.
Easements, okay.
So really, the bottom line, Mr. Mayor, the question needing to be asked is, if we do the road as proposed in the original staff report to Planning Commission, certainly outlined by the fire chief, what is the road width? Because I know there's nothing we built in the city that's 60 foot in a subdivision.
I think you heard that they were looking for something on the order of a pavement surface of between 30 and 27 feet, depending upon what the trucks would require. We would go with the minimum pavement width that the fire department would accept.
Yeah.
And the chief just
as you
said
can
20
see
to
it-
24.
Beg your
The
pardon?
chief just said 20 to 24.
Well, our minimum standard, because I helped craft it, being an ex-fireman, was 11 foot for each lane, so it was
Right.
minimum 22, we went to 24.
Right.
So that, to me, is what I was assuming this would be 24.
Yeah,
because you
generally
need
your
11 for
travel
2
lanes are
inches to pass
12
each other,
foot, 12 foot
close by.
wide, no parking on the side, and
Exactly.
you got your 12 feet.
Okay, so 24, 27.
Great, thanks. Thanks for that. So, let's see, other questions before we deliberate a little bit here?
Well, the easement will handle a large road, right? It's 84 feet?
Right.
Yes.
Is that what I heard?
Yes, sir.
So somewhere in the staff report, I thought I saw 20 and a 10, and no, a 30 and a 20, and it was a minimum to 20 foot, somebody was.
Right. It will, if you just look at a typical residential neighborhood road, if you go with merely travel lanes, there's two 12-foot lanes. Usually, we'll add 8 feet on either side of that, so you add 16 and 24 to have a full width if you have parking. If you have no parking, then all you need is the two 12-foot lanes.
I think the thing that's bugging me is that we're talking about a temporary problem, because I think in our plan for the south area, we're gonna put our fires and our police department in #1 priority. They're going in as soon as those homes are over there, okay, and before, they're gonna be there fast. It sounds like we're saying we're gonna wait a while. No, we're not gonna wait a while. We wouldn't do that. So we're gonna have some kind of response internally. But I'm not against putting it in either way, okay? But I'm thinking, once you put that road in permanently, no barriers, you're gonna have constantly build up traffic. And it's gonna be not only the neighbors in El Dorado, it's gonna be our neighbors too. We got some right next to that. So you're gonna add traffic, and even here, the biggest gripe we have is so much traffic beyond, people don't like traffic past their house. And so I don't know what the solution is, but that to me is the problem. Can't we make it temporary in the sense that until we build ours? Okay, and you can build the road. I think the developer will do either way. They gotta get it done. They'll build it either way, but if you stop it from having access where it's just normal, somebody wants to go through there, until we
I think
build ours.
from our standpoint, we're merely following suit with the fire chief. Whatever the health and safety consideration is, to be able to fight fires and to get to people when they need the EMTs to get to them. If it's an EVA of some sort and it works and they can open and shut the gates, we always make recommendations to you with a high priority of health and safety. That's the #1 thing. And that's what we did when we came to the Planning Commission. It is through this outreach and process and transparency that we ended up with an EVA. I can live with anything our fire chief can live with, but there was quite a bit of negotiation and evidence, and as a matter of fact, a matter of recorded documents that showed the full easement since 2006.
And Mr. Mayor, if I might, I apologize for continuing to chime in, but I just do want to point out again that portions of this area remain in the El Dorado Hills Fire Service area. And with regard to our mutual aid agreements across Sacramento County and into El Dorado Hills, it is always the first closest available unit responds without regard to jurisdictional boundary. And so I wouldn't think it, I personally would not characterize this as a temporary problem waiting for Folsom to build its fire stations. That's not the way fire service works in Sacramento County and El Dorado Hills, and that's not the way it's likely to work over the next several decades, just because of the success and the model that we have with fire service delivery in this region. So I don't know that it's accurate to characterize it as a temporary problem waiting for Folsom to build their fire stations. It's a permanent service delivery solution based on how these agencies have set their boundaries and how they've agreed to work across them.
Okay, thanks. So any other comments?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, and the manager just outlined again, this is El Dorado Hills Fire Service area. In El Dorado Hills Fire Service area, and I sat on the JPA between the city of Folsom and El Dorado County when a lot of these agreements were constructed, including Saratoga and Iron Point. I forgot all the other ones off the top of my head, but there were 4 major ones. And our fire chief is correct. This plan in its infancy really allowed them, even before Folsom Heights came in and actually laid out the subdivision plan, and we went through all the iterations, almost 3 years worth, when we did the specific plans and whatnot. There were actually up to 4 different connections into here, and that was at the request of not only El Dorado County as the electeds, when we sat in this room and their room up in Placerville, trying to figure out the circulation plan for all this in the name of public safety. It wasn't just fire, it was also sheriffs and police. When it came down to this specific project, and I want to make it extremely clear, this isn't a temporary situation. And for the folks that are sitting out there thinking we're only doing this for 20% of the calls, which are fire, 80% are medical. And if El Dorado Hills Fires needs to get into your subdivision, and it's blocked for whatever purpose, reason, or whatever, they need to come through Folsom to get to you, and vice versa. So this is something that's been on the books for a very, very long time. It's been an agreement for a very, very long time. There's no 60-foot roadway constructed here. I'm going to make some suggestions, however, to the roadway. I'm going to support a full road because I am a retired fireman. I will always put public safety first, police and fire, sheriffs, whatnot. It is within the jurisdiction of El Dorado Hills Fire. This is in their master plan as a through road, and we have actually worked with them to make it one through road and not more. And eventually, when our fire station gets down there and we're a little closer to you, who do you think is going to be your first in? It's going to be a Folsom Fire Department engine, not El Dorado Hills. We will be closer. This isn't a temporary thing waiting for our fire station to be built. This is going to be a permanent thing under the mutual aid agreements that the first in closest is going. There's no such thing as just jurisdictional lines when it comes to mutual aid. And I've lived through that with, when I worked for the city of Burbank, I was in LA County. I was in LA City. I was in Glendale. I was in Sun Valley near the airport. And those are all different jurisdictions. We didn't care. Whoever was the closest got there first. And 80+% of our calls are medical aid, not fires. So when everyone's concentrating on fires, you're missing the biggest picture. The biggest picture is the medical aid. And so for me, to sit here and not support the health, safety, and welfare of both sides of the border, I'm not going to do. I'm going to support a full road, but I'm also going to ask 2 questions. Number one, I agree with the lady that said, and we've done it with our own jurisdiction recently, again, out here by Folsom Dam, and where East Natoma kind of curves, and we were blowing some headlights, and when we redid the new bridge and whatnot. I would like to see if the applicant would look at a consideration, and maybe you guys construct agreement subject to, in other words, we make an agreement here, you guys work out the details. But I am extremely sensitive about any headlights going into anybody's backyards, whether it's in our jurisdiction or theirs, because under joint agreement, those are some of the things that we talked about, is less intrusive. I personally like a lot of landscape stuff. I hate putting up a bunch of cement, but where it's extent possible, like what we did on our own East Natoma, we'll put up the walls, or we'll put up the landscaping berms, and then we landscape it to kind of take some of the gaudiness of looking at a masonry wall every time you go by and give a little aesthetics to both sides of the border on that. I would certainly be not opposed to that whatsoever. Be an easy fix. I think it's a nice compromise. It'll reduce some road noise. It'll get some aesthetics. It's not going to affect the home values. I've been a real estate broker for 42 years, so I agree with you. So what can we do to mitigate some of those things for your home values? The other thing is I heard, and Tim, maybe you need to answer this one, or maybe David can. From where I saw, if we do the maximum, and I'm thinking 27 feet, because that gives you, each engine or truck, whatever, with their mirrors is usually approximately 11 feet wide, less some parking, but there's not going to be parking on that thoroughfare right there because there's no homes there. So that doesn't need to be more than 27, that gives you your 22 for the two vehicles, and that gives you 5 feet, 2.5 feet on either side, easy passing distance for professionals driving these emergency vehicles. So I would propose no greater than 27, maybe 28, whatever the fire chief and certainly our planning director agrees to, but we don't need anything greater than 30 on that throat, if you will, the roadway, because it's just a roadway. No houses are there. There's not going to be any parking there, and it should be posted that way, or you can even go with red curb or a combination of both. But I'd also like to know, Tim or David, what is the actual open space buffer between when that road does get, if it goes down tonight, if the road gets constructed, from the edge of the road to the nearest closest backyard? I understand there's an open space buffer still. I can't really delineate with everything I've been looking in here and looking at the map. Do you know what that width is?
Is Jim Ray? Jim, are you here? I think Jim has that. Yeah, if we go back to the.
You're looking for the answer right now?
And you know what, David? It might actually be on that page 384, and I'm looking at that. That looks like the recorded deed for what is referred to as road and utilities easement, and it's dated September 30th, 2001.
Anyway, so I'm looking at if, again, I'm going to support a road, but I'm also want to support the necessary improvements to buffer the sound, buffer headlights, and put a little bit of aesthetics in that area. Because at the end of the day, we all have to live with this because we're all going to be serving each other. And so that, to me, from a public health and safety standpoint, that's what I'm going to propose. That'll be my motion, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to move this to be approved with that caveat for the road, with those landscaping suggestions in there, which obviously I'll need the applicant to speak to those and get what their feelings are. And to me, I'm never going to I'm not going to support a project where it's going to jeopardize public safety. And I've had to deal with too many EVAs in my career. I'm certainly never going to let fire or police or sheriff have to deal with an EVA when it's a primary access. And it's going to be a primary access for a very long time. Oh, so with respect, I had to say something. When I hear somebody say it's going to put a burden on our parks, burden on our parks, burden on our parks, okay. So when ours built, then are we going to have a card that says you can't go to Folsom parks? Because right now they're coming into our parks, and we're happy to have them. That's why we built them. It's for everybody. Let's not have borders about who's using whose parks. If that were the case, we would have bitched and complained, with all due respect on the language, about the park that was put up to the east of us with those glaring lights that were shining, and we get complaints regularly from our residents and the golf course folks about the blaring lights over in somebody's park that your jurisdiction built, not your CSD, but your folks in El Dorado Hills built, and that we're getting all the effects for the errant light. So in the spirit of trying to be good neighbors, let's not worry about who's using each other's parks. That's what they're designed for. I'm not going to check your resident card if you're at Lemby Park or our aquatic center or any other parks, or our open space park at Nissan, which is real close to you folks. That's what we should be doing, getting out and enjoying the open space and enjoying each other's, wherever the parks may be. So just like when ours are eventually built, and there's plenty in that subdivision, we have 136 acres? 122? 122 acres of parks we're building alone, plus over 1,000 acres of open space we're leaving permanently in there for everybody to enjoy it. We're not going to check your resident card to see if you're only from the city of Folsom to go enjoy it. Go enjoy it, knock yourself out, which is also why we moved in response the trails. Because again, we're trying to be sensitive neighbors, but I'm not going to give up public safety. But if I can soften the effect of the public safety, and we've done our own jurisdiction, Mr. Mayor, that's my proposal, and I'd like to hear what the applicant thinks about it, if I may just take a couple extra minutes to hear what he says.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry if I'm passionate, but I want to protect everybody. That's the bottom line.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of points. If you look at the maps, the two lots of Ms. Post and Ms. Haley, they're anywhere from 80 to 120 feet from the edge of the easement. Now, if you go to the edge of the pavement, you have to add probably another, under your example, maybe another 15 to 20 feet. So you've got quite some distance. The other aspect is, for Ms. Haley's lot, she's about 20 or 30 feet above the roadway.
So she wouldn't get headlights?
Yeah, she won't get headlights and not even noise. I mean, I guess, I don't know, noise usually moves horizontally, pretty much.
It doesn't go up.
Ms. Post is at the very end, more level with the road. So we're happy, and we had proposed before to work out a landscape plan that would buffer and shield any light or glare.
Okay.
And we would be happy to do that as long as it's subject to the staff's approval, because we're confident that we can get there. But
Just from aesthetics, it just looks
and
better anyway for
aesthetically, it
both
would look better.
jurisdictions.
Right,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's my main concern. We don't like headlights in the people's yards. We don't like to construct anything, as you know, you've been here enough
Right.
times.
No, no one likes
So
that.
that's our policy.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Mr. City Attorney, it sounds like we have an agreement with that you guys can work out.
Okay. I'm done. So other,
But that was a
My only
motion,
other
by the way.
comment to the El Dorado Hills folks is that if there's an issue with either CSD or CCNRs or homeowners association or El Dorado Hills Fire about the requirement for open fencing, I would have a discussion with them. And, if changing out the fence to something, something else is your preference, or the alternative would be to do some additional landscaping, as we're requesting that the developer do, to minimize any light intrusion into your backyards.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, to
Sure.
just make sure we're all clear and to capture Councilmember Miklos and hopefully the entire council's desire, as reflected tonight, I think it's important for Mr. Banks to go through a modified condition with you.
Okay.
So that you can see exactly what's being
right, so we'll get
modified.
we'll make sure that the maker of the motion is supportive of the language that Steve's working on as we speak.
Yes,
So,
sir. And to
okay.
that end, I think we need clarification as to what is the width of the road.
Right, yes.
So Steve already said that, 27
Not
feet.
to, not to exceed, I believe 27, because that's usually our standard for two-lane roads and allows, well, let's hear what the chief has to say, but
I would say that
About the throat area.
the 27 feet probably come from two 12-foot lanes and a 1.5 gutter on each side.
correct.
So that's your
Yeah,
27
because
feet.
there's not going to be any parking, it's just a throat. So can you,
Councilmember Miklos, yes, if we're requiring this to be a primary road, then it is 27 feet per the Folsom Fire Code, and that's
You're
one of our
welcome.
city laws, so
Thanks.
27 for...
it used to be 22 until I got here.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
Okay. And again, there's not going to be parking because it's a throat. It's just the connection between the two jurisdictions.
It's
so there won't be
it's
any parking.
basically a fire access.
Okay.
It's an emergency.
So, Councilmember
You know,
Gaylord?
and we can require, red painting of curbs on the city of Folsom side, and I can't imagine that the chief wouldn't be able to work out with El Dorado Hills what goes on their side.
Well, especially since it's their service area.
Right.
Okay, Roger.
So I'm just not convinced that an EVA versus a road, there's that much of an impact or a difference. I don't know, maybe there is, but I've lived in a gated community I lived in a gated community with full EVA access for fire and PD, and it seemed like it wasn't that much of a delay. So I guess I'm still not convinced. But the thing I don't like is that, if these recommendations are going to come from, planning and then come to us, I feel like they should all be in this packet up front so we have time to actually make a sound decision instead of an on-the-fly thing. I watched the planning commission, and to me, this was, and I met with the applicant actually, and this was dead. This was a done deal. It was the way it was, and now we're kind of going back and second guessing and saying, hey, we should do this, this, and that. And I realize that's kind of what we do as policymakers, but to me, it's just there's a lot of work that goes in there, so I'm definitely appreciative of it, and I'm appreciative of the applicant. But I just want to see this beforehand so we can actually think a little bit more and digest it a bit, so we have facts. So I just wanted to make sure that was stated, but. I 100% agree with Councilmember Miklos. If we are to do a road, I would like to see some sort of barrier and the changes that he actually made. I support that 100%. But again, I'm just not convinced yet that it's a better strategy to have a full-on road versus just an EVA access.
All right, Carrie, anything to
My
add?
concern about just to address your comment, about the EVA access versus the full road, back to the chief's point, if it takes 30 seconds to 60 seconds, this is probably, in my personal opinion, more critical for a medical call than it is necessarily for a fire, because that's going to be dependent on where fire hydrants are located. You don't necessarily have to get through the gate in order to start fighting the fire, but you do have to get an ambulance through the gate if somebody's having a heart attack.
Here's my thing.
And that's basically where, what is convincing me, because I could have, at the beginning of this meeting, probably could have lived with the EVA, but based on what I'm hearing from the fire safety folks and what has been planned as back as early as 2001, that's what I think provides the best health and safety benefit for people on either side of the county
See, I
line.
just don't see it, because here's my thing. If you have a clear open EVA with gates, you have no traffic. If you have a full-on road with 10,000 new homes going through, you have more traffic. To me, I'd rather keep it an EVA and.
There's never going to be 10,000 cars going through there. At total build-out, that's not going to happen.
I'm not saying 10,000 cars, I'm saying 10,000 homes south of 50 running wherever you go. I mean, it just, to me, the 30 seconds it takes to flash your code 3 lights and open the gate, I'm just not convinced it would be better to have the road versus the EVA.
Well, and I can appreciate what you're saying, but I can tell you, 3 minutes without oxygen, you start having brain damage. So if you got to spend 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute, or a total failure of the gate, you got a dead person.
What if you have full-on traffic there, though, and that's all I'm saying?
Well, I don't
Traffic
agree
is
with that,
required to move
because
out of the
where the
way.
road is going through, there's no parking. So you're not going to have a traffic congestion, because on the roadways where there's parking within the subdivisions on both sides of the border, the roads are going to be wider, so it's not going to impede the engines or the medics from going through. In the throat that we're talking about, there is no parking, that's why it's a 27. If it was going to be parking, it would be even wider, like what we have in our own subdivisions. And I could appreciate then a bigger concern. They would be able to get through from both jurisdictions, and that really is the key. This is still El Dorado Hills Fire's jurisdiction, who's laying down the requirement for a roadway.
I absolutely appreciate that, but our traffic is only getting worse. And
Well, I don't disagree with that. That's just that's unfortunately, it's a success and a failure of your own success.
Sure.
So, I don't disagree with you, Roger. You're dead on that. I'm not happy about it. You know, as you know, we always get pushed and shoved about bring this, bring this, bring this. We bring it, and then we got traffic, then we get griped at about the traffic. So I don't disagree. And you know, I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. These are private property owners exhibiting their desires and wants to develop their property, and so we have to do the best to protect the public. In this particular case, it's on both sides of the border, so I'm respecting the request from our jurisdictional neighbor that made these requests a long time ago. It's in their service area. And again, from one that's had to live through EVAs and gates and stuff and failures all the time. And it used to be the good old days. We used to have just big chain links and locks on them. But everybody and their sisters got bolt cutters, so that turned into a nightmare. And then like anything else, sometimes electronics can fail, especially we have an area where, you know, I know technology's a lot better, but technology does fail. And on a primary access, that's the key. On a primary access, my vote up here, one vote, is not to basically put life safety at risk on a primary access. And that's really the key. This is a primary access, it's not
And if you
secondary.
blow a transformer, you have no electricity, gate ain't opening.
there's power supply for that, backup.
Anyway, so that's where I was coming from, Roger.
Yeah, Ernie?
Yeah, I'm convinced with the safety aspect to look at the road, but I'm very sad with the process we went through. When you have a lot of people, I heard there were 75 El Dorado Hills residents at that planning commission meeting, and they left thinking they had an agreement. And it seems like maybe we didn't tell them we're changing it because we changed it overnight, maybe yesterday. Okay, you went back and you did your other research and you come up with another conclusion, which is,
That isn't, Councilmember, with all respect, that isn't correct. We made a recommendation to the Planning Commission
For a road.
originally for a full road. The Planning Commission voted for an EVA regardless of our recommendation, and we didn't change it.
Yeah, but I think correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is it's just that's not in here.
it's not
That's a
in here at
problem.
all.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
It was in the original recommendation to the Planning Commission.
Which is in the staff report and also the.
And that
staff
is in the
report of planning
staff
commission's
report.
in here, showing the recommendation from the staff as a road. That's in here.
Well, this isn't the first time we've deliberated something like this. In fact, we have clear examples of that on other parts of our border with El Dorado County. We have our smartest traffic folks working on trying to make some improvements and balancing some of these things. The one thing I want to be careful is that, you know, this doesn't turn into the Berlin Wall. I think that's, you know, what some people like to think is the best solution, and it's just not for a lot of the reasons we're deliberating up here. And I just believe that at the end of the day, just as we deal with these cross the county line roadways that already exist in 2 or 3 places, not even counting Green Valley Road, just smaller neighborhood connectivity. The best thing is that those go in so that we can, there's just value in that connectivity, just like we were discussing. And in this case, you know, certainly with the fire service, the police service, things of that nature. So again, these aren't easy decisions for us up here. I mean, we're balancing a lot of things. And somebody made a really good point. We're going to have the same issues once we have people on the Sacramento County side of that border that are in the city of Folsom. We're going to hear from them. And if we have problems with too much traffic going through there that's cut through, again, we're working on solutions for that in another area right now, just to encourage people to not use these as cut throughs. So we're going to have to really watch that. You know, one thing I think it's important to stipulate, and I don't know if it was a part of the motion, is to make sure that this road does not accommodate any construction traffic. You know, I think we've heard from the applicant that there's no need for that with Alder Creek Parkway.
I'll amend the motion to make sure that condition's in there.
So, and I would hope that the applicant doesn't have a problem with that. But the idea is to build in all the health and safety, but at the same time, you know, build in as much protection as we can for the quality of life of the people that are close by here. And, you know, that's what we got to try and do.
I think
is
limiting the
balance that.
construction access to the Folsom side is important because we're already getting complaints from Hovnanian about construction traffic that I think is really related to the Cal Atlantic project, and they're blaming us for it, and it's not us. They're not coming to or going from Folsom, so.
So if there are no other comments or questions, so could we review the potential motion on the floor, and we'll have the maker of the motion give that a thumbs up or a thumbs down, so.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and I think staff would propose to further modify condition number 174, which is on page 121 of your staff report, but also in the green sheet. I believe that's on page 3 of your green sheet.
Okay, so how's that going to read, Steve?
Mr. Mayor, we're proposing to modify condition number 174, included in your packet, to indicate the owner applicant shall screen Prima Drive to minimize potential lighting impacts to nearby residences to the satisfaction of the Community Development Department. Prima Drive shall be limited to 27 feet in width. In addition, no construction-related traffic shall be permitted to utilize Prima Drive.
Steve, should we put something in there that it's going to be a no parking, or you guys can just do that through traffic safety?
I think we can do that, just do the
Okay.
design
And
and traffic.
and I appreciate, you know, as far as the limiting of the landscaping for certainly headlight intrusion, but maybe, you know, also consider some additional landscaping. It doesn't have to be huge, but I mean, soften the roadway look for everybody. Not only their side, but our side. So on both sides, soften it a little bit. So yeah, I definitely want to protect the gal that could have the headlight intrusion, but I want to soften that throat, period.
I think we agree.
So if you're satisfied if that condition does that, then.
We're satisfied.
I'll accept that as part of the motion.
Okay.
And then I also, and you said the construction traffic.
Yes.
I heard that, okay, so that's good. And not to exceed 27 feet, okay,
Correct.
that works for me. Okay, so,
We good?
yeah,
Good
so
on that motion?
that's my amended motion.
Okay.
So, there was,
Yeah, that's a good question.
actually, I have a note here to ask, that's one of my additional questions. So with David or.
Steve, could you repeat the question since it came off?
So the question I had, you know, obviously, there was concern by the applicant, and maybe, Tim, you can stand up and iterate again what your concern. I like to make sure that if we're running a project, it's handled by the city of Folsom. I'm not looking for any agreements where we have to get approval from any other jurisdiction other than the city of Folsom. The maintenance agreement from the border of El Dorado Hills going into Folsom, that road will be maintained and within the whole project by the city of Folsom. I'm not looking to any approvals or any road maintenance agreements after that, because again, it's gonna go two ways, with all due respect. Two ways between two jurisdictions. So any condition that's in there that show any reflection or any mention of any other jurisdiction other than the city of Folsom, running this project needs to be removed.
Mr. Mayor, and the members of the council, if I may, so the developer has agreed as a modification to amendment number 1 to the first amended and restated Tier 1 development agreement to establish a funding mechanism through a CFD to fully cover the maintenance costs of Prima Drive,
To what, from where to where?
the entire, as approved by the council tonight.
But not as a condition of.
That would be the new stub road. You had a
other words, it
concern,
almost
council
would
member,
sound
that
like-
that we build it and we control the building.
Right.
And they've gone one step further to say in the CFD, they would put monies in there to maintain it as well.
So Prima Drive on their side of the border as well?
Yes.
Correct.
Oh, then I'm okay with
Most
that.
of Prima Drive is on their side.
Yeah, but they don't want a condition of approval.
Yeah. Well,
Which
it's, in
can
the-
come back.
it's already been in the state of retier agreement, so if they're doing a CFD and that covers that, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So we're good on the maintenance
So
end of
that's
it all?
self-funded.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so
So we have a motion?
motion by.
Second?
So motion by Councilmember Miklos, seconded by Vice Mayor Howell. So any other last-minute comments, questions? Okay, with that, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Gaylord?
No.
Howell?
Yes.
Miklos?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes.
And Moran?
Yes. All right, so that moves us from there, so.
Yeah, I apologize. I just want to make sure we're all good on the record. So that was the motion to adopt the resolution.
What was that again, Steve?
That was the motion to adopt resolution 9965.
Right.
We
Yes.
still need to introduce.
Oh, and I'll move to introduce ordinance number 1276.
Second.
Thank
All
you.
right, very good. Now we're, okay, so moved and.
Did you say
seconded.
2076? I think it's 1276.
1276, I
Okay.
said.
Okay.
Yes.
1276, moved and seconded by Councilmember Miklos and Vice Mayor Howell. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Gaylord?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
Miklos?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes.
And Moran?
Yes. Okay, so that concludes that item. Next item under public hearing.
Your last public hearing tonight is item 8D. This is preliminary draft of the general plan and direction from the city council.
Okay, David Miller, once again.
Yes, I have to kind of hog your time tonight. I'm sorry about that, Mayor. Mayor and council members, this is hopefully our last time that we will bring what we call the preliminary draft of the general plan to you. We have worked very hard with all people who have commented. I think you've all seen the spreadsheets of the comments and those that we felt we could incorporate. Others, in some cases, were either too detailed or were clearly in conflict with your historic policy decisions, so we didn't want to march off in that direction. So we've incorporated as much as we feel we can within the scope of the general plan, which is general and not great detail. And we do have Chelsea here with us from Mentier Harness this evening to summarize what those changes are. And our wish tonight and our request of you is to accept those changes that we have today, have a document move forward through the environmental process, and through that process, you may have some recommended changes due to mitigation measures that need to occur, and that will give us the opportunity to finish the environmental document and circulate it to all of the public agencies that need to comment on it.
And so David, with that, and that's a really good point, so during the environmental process and, as that works through its process, there'll be additional public commentary opportunities.
Yes, the California Environmental Quality Act, in fact, mandates that we have a public hearing at least at one level, and that we allow people to come in and comment during a period when it's being circulated. This will probably be a 45-day, not a 30-day review period. It goes to the state clearinghouse. It goes to all of the agencies at the state and local level that need to review it for environmental issues. We receive all of their comments, and during that time, the general public can submit comments as well, and you will have all of those to consider when we bring it for adoption after that document is complete.
Okay, so we'll see Chelsea even more after this evening then, huh? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks, David.
Chelsea? It's in here. Let me see if we can, let's just get this one off.
Yeah.
Probably more
Oh.
techie than I am.
I don't know about that. I have a very brief presentation for tonight. just to summarize the changes we made. But as David said, we've had several meetings now on the preliminary draft general plan. This is the 8th meeting with council and the various commissions. We published this preliminary draft back in January, presented a revised version in April, and then this is the another revised version that we've published now. To summarize, there were 5 comment letters that we received either after immediately before the May meeting, after the May meeting, or just not in time that we were able to respond before the May meeting. And based on the council's direction during the May 26th council meeting, we've gone back and we've worked on responding to all of those comments, and that's what's included in your packet tonight. So the errata sheet that we've included, the yellow highlighting shows the changes that we've made since that May council meeting. We also met with Loretta and other representatives from the Heritage Preservation League in June to talk through some of their comments, since they had a substantial number of comments. So some of the things we've changed, we've added 2 new guiding principles. Number 17 is about embracing Folsom's heritage, and number 18 is about celebrating the cultural diversity of residents. We modified 6 policies. In most cases, this was to clarify the intent of policies. So for example, policy LU 1.1.4 was about coordinating with LAFCO to revise the sphere of influence. We clarified that the intent is to permit the new corporation yard. We've also added 6 new policies about engaging with the community in the planning process, 2 policies in the River District section about considering compatibility of the surrounding uses and also honoring the city's heritage, and pursuing the development of bike and pedestrian overpass. We made minor changes to the land use diagram to redesignate the single-family designated parcels within the historic district to single-family high density. That reflects, is more in line with the current density of those parcels. Before this meeting, Loretta also pointed out that in the comment matrix, we've identified a new policy in the mobility element 1.1.11 that didn't show up in the errata sheet as highlighted yellow, but we, as described in the comment matrix, we are proposing a new policy about the Southern Pacific Rail right-of-way being used as a multimodal corridor. And we've also asked Loretta for some help in editing the history section in the introduction to additionally respond to some of Heritage Preservation League's comments about accurately reflecting the history. So we'll continue to work on some of these revisions, but what we're looking for tonight, what we're asking the council is direction for us to initiate the environmental impact report for the general plan. And as David said, with the future release of the EIR, we'll release a revised draft of this general plan, and we'll be going out to the public for a more formal comment period on the draft general plan. So there will be additional opportunities for a bite at this apple, but right now we're looking to initiate the EIR.
Great, great.
So that concludes my presentation.
Great, thanks, Chelsea. So questions of Chelsea? I do have a request to speak on this item.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
Good job, Chelsea.
Right.
Okay, so with that,
You have one request to speak tonight from Loretta Hettinger.
good evening, Loretta, and thanks for all your efforts on this.
Oh, thank you. This project, Loretta Hettinger, Vice President of Heritage Preservation League. This project is starting to remind me of the Orangevale Avenue Bridge project in the fact of how much cooperation is going back and forth between the city and the residents. We all feel comfortable giving our comments, and I'm gratified by how much has been changed and modified in the document at this point. There is one or two things that I would just call out now, but I'm confident of continuing to work with Chelsea on the other things. Okay. One I would call out was noted by both Heritage Preservation League and two of your other respondents, and that is the guiding principle about Folsom being a gateway to El Dorado County wine country. It's fine to be a gateway to the foothills, but if you look in our comment section in their matrix, calling Folsom the gateway to the wine country in El Dorado County is kind of like Sacramento marketing itself as a 2 hours from Tahoe and 2 hours from the ocean. It needs to be recast to be more about Folsom and not about what we're near. I have no problem calling out the wine country. It's just this is a guiding principle. This is hugely emphasized in about 3 different places. So I just have offered some language that you might consider in how to still say that, but put it in the cast of our long historic connection between Folsom and the Mother Lode. So say the same thing, but in a more Folsom-friendly way. And the other small thing is that one of the changes that they put in, I'm sure to respond to our concerns, has an unwitting effect of just limiting, with regard to the River District, just limiting consideration of the history within the historic district. And just want the record to show that we do have history all along the river, not just within the historic district. And thank you so much to staff and to yourselves.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Loretta. Thanks for all your help with this. And it looks like we have another request to speak on the site.
You have another speaker card from Mr. Holderness.
Good evening, Bob.
Mr. Mayor, I'm disappointed to hear that the representative of the Historic Preservation League is not familiar with Folsom's history. Back in the 1850s and 60s, up until the time...
Is that when you first moved here, Bob?
Pardon me?
Is that when you first moved here?
Yeah. Until the time the Southern Pacific Railroad bought the Sacramento Valley Railroad and tore down the railroad bridge across the American River, Folsom was the gateway to the gold fields. It bragged about that, and it had more stage lines than any other city in the West in the 1860s and 70s. And this promotion of the gateway to the wine country is consistent with that part of our history. Moreover, it's a key part of the marketing program of our hotels, which provide the city with transit occupancy tax revenue so that it can fund its parks and recreation programs, and provides the Tourism Bureau with revenue so that they can promote our businesses, our recreational activities, our tourism in this city. It's very important to keep that in there, and I regret that Loretta forgot about that part of our history. Thank you, Mayor.
And Bob, just to follow along with that, I believe that I believe that most of the hotels in town have a sip and stay program.
Okay, so with that, no other requests to speak on this item? Okay, so pleasure to the council here.
Well, this letter we got from the state parks, okay? you
Yes, sir.
gave us
We have
today.
it.
I think we have to look real hard at the river district some more, okay, that's all. We've got to consider what they're saying. I think we're gonna have to put in our general plan something that says we got to work together,
Right.
okay? Because, we can, I know the chamber loves us to go ahead and put our impact on the river. It's not gonna get nothing done unless we work together with who's there first.
I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised that we got the response that we did from State Parks and Rec, because that to me, I think is opening the door that they are willing to sit down and talk to us, where up to this point, they haven't really been willing to do so. So I think that's actually a very positive thing. I'm pleasantly surprised at
But I
this
think
letter.
Bernie makes a good point, and I think you're right. And I think Carrie's also right, because we have been much more cooperative with them, but I don't disagree with your thoughts, because that's why we're doing all this.
Yeah, we've
Flush
been-
everybody out to see where we can come to common ground.
Right, we've been working hard to make sure that, all that language has the right touch, so it's not alarmist, but also contains some opportunity. So I think we're getting close to that balance on that, so. Okay, so is everybody, any other questions, comments related to?
Happy to Chelsea to keep moving forward.
Okay,
as she's
so,
outlined.
so do we have a, is there a specific?
I think it's just direction to council.
Just, okay,
A lot of output there.
right, so
Lot of
let's move this on to the environmental phase then, but, you know, the folks that have, and there was a lot of input to this, and it only made it better. So, so my thanks to everybody who took a great interest in this important document, so. Okay, so that.
And thanks to our staff and
oh,
Chelsea
yeah.
for going through a very long spreadsheet to address each of those comments.
Okay, so, so with the conclusion of that item, we will adjourn the regular meeting of the Folsom City Council and convene the joint City Council Folsom Ranch Financing Authority meeting. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Council and board members Gaylord?
Here.
Howell?
Here.
Miklos?
Present.
Sheldon?
Here.
And Moran.
Is present. So let's see, next item on that agenda.
Your one new business item tonight is the Folsom Ranch Financing Authority Special Tax Revenue Bonds, Series 2017. You have two resolutions to consider, Resolution Number 9969 and Resolution Number 002, Folsom Ranch FA. And I would just remind the council you have amendments on both of those resolutions.
Okay, great, thank you. Good evening, Finance Director Francis.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This item, special tax revenue bonds for CFD, we're seeking your approval to begin issuing bonds for the development south of 50. As you recall, you approved CFD 19 in January of 2016. It does provide for the construction and acquisition of public improvements, including water and sewer lines, water tanks, pump stations, Scott Road, or East Bidwell as we're calling it now, other street reconstructions, and also the subdivision improvements. Just as a reminder, CFD 19 encompasses this area. This is Highway 50. This is Placerville Road, and this is East Bidwell coming down, and then White Rock Road along the south. So that encompasses CFD 19. If you blow that up, the current development is in this particular area. This is all of CFD 19, however. Again, the total cost to construct all of the facilities necessary to serve CFD 19 is $98 million. So that's going to be a very expensive first home once that's all put in. But when you break that down, the infrastructure that's off-site, meaning out of CFD 19 that they're putting in, is $24 million. The backbone infrastructure, which are roads and those types of things, is 25, almost 26 million. And then the subdivision improvements within the CFD are 48 million. We're proposing to issue revenue bonds, the amount not to exceed 30,500,000. They will be used to finance the acquisition of these facilities and to have a debt service reserve and to pay the cost of the issuance of the bonds. The appraised value of the property currently in CFD 19 is $89,230,000. The issuance will be in compliance with your policies, which would have a value to lien ratio of 3-to-1. And the projected tax burden is 1.8, and your policy is to be under 2%. By taking these actions, you're approving the form of various required documents for us selling the bonds, and that includes the official statement and a number of other items through the continuing disclosure. You're also authorizing the officers of the city and the Folsom Ranch Financing Authority to execute those documents and to take other actions to prepare for the sale of the bonds. Your next steps will be at your next meeting, where there'll be a public hearing on the public benefit of these bonds and your consideration to actually approve the issuance of the special tax revenue bonds. So with that, we would recommend approval of the amended resolutions, City Council Resolution 9969, and the amended Finance Authority Resolution number 002.
All right, thank you, Jim. Any questions of Jim? All right, I have no requests to speak on this item, so
I'll move Resolution 9969.
I'll go
I'm
ahead.
assuming that City Attorney would like us to do this separately.
Separately, please.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and second that motion, so please call the roll.
Councilmembers Gaylord?
Yes.
Howell? Yes. Miklos?
Aye.
Sheldon?
Aye.
And Moran?
Aye.
Thank you.
And,
I'll move Resolution 002.
Second.
Okay, moved by Vice Mayor Hall, seconded by Councilmember Gaylord. Please call the roll on that item.
Councilmembers Gaylord?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes, and now we'll hear from the Pirates.
Miklos?
Aye.
Sheldon?
Aye.
And Moran?
Aye. All right, with that.
Better than R.
We will adjourn the joint City Council Folsom Ranch Financing Authority meeting and reconvene our City Council meeting and move to City Manager reports. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Well, there comes a time in everyone's career where they look for additional opportunities, and can't say that I'm happy to report, but I'm happy for Dave that I want to let everybody in the community and the council know that this is likely Mr. Miller's last council meeting. So, Dave, I want to thank you for your 10 years of service to the city and to our planning efforts. You certainly have racked up a great number of accomplishments here. You probably have the bumps and bruises and scars to show for it. They'll probably make good stories sitting on the front porch with your grandkids, but we do wish you the very best in your next endeavors, and thanks on behalf of myself and the council and the community and all your colleagues on the executive team.
Where are you going,
Thanks very
David?
much.
They're going to where my grandkids are, my mother is, my brother, and my sister, which is in the Seattle area. So I'll be in a town called North Bend, which is 30 miles east of Seattle, so you don't have to
Yeah, but the
deal.
traffic extends at least that far.
I've driven it quite a bit, and that freeway is a nice way to escape. You're half an hour from a Seahawks game, and you can go home to the Cascades afterward.
Yeah, so we're going to miss Dave's, certainly his hard work, because he was somebody that was always willing to take a burden, and it was very, very, I guess, reassuring as a city manager to know that I could strap a thorny issue to Dave, and he would carry it all the way through with a great sense of humor and solid professionalism. So thank you very much. Sadly, we lost another one of our own over the last week, but Chuck Harrison unexpectedly passed away a short time ago. Many of you will know and recall Chuck from his involvement in our Parks and Recreation programs. He was a very solid manager in those programs, and we've been in contact with Karen and the family, and details on services will be announced sometime shortly, but we are certainly saddened by his loss and working amongst ourselves to make sure that everybody is getting the support in their grieving process that they can. But Mr. Mayor, if it's not too presumptuous of me, I would ask that you adjourn this evening's meeting. Chuck's
Absolutely.
honor. So with that, I have nothing else.
Thank you, Everett. Roger, anything? Okay, Steve?
Just a quick thank you, David, for all your work. I think this evening is just a great punctuation mark on your professionalism. As I said to you one-on-one even, I'm incredibly impressed with how you've elevated the staff opportunities, whether it be Public Works, such as the opportunities that Dave was given under your tutelage and others. I like the fact that staff takes ownership and pride in what they're doing, and you just kind of elevated that department in levels I haven't seen in my 23 years. And so I was very happy for all the years you were here, and very happy all the work that you put out. And I can tell you, just from a friendship standpoint, I'm really going to miss you. From a professional standpoint, the city of Folsom owes you a huge debt of gratitude, because getting just the south of 50 thing in itself would normally make people run and scream from the building. And you stuck it out and took it to a level we've never seen, so thank you.
Well said, Steve. Ernie?
I think Dave wanted more rain, that's all. He just wanted more water. I concur with the loss of Chuck Harrison. He's Mr. Parade. He brought the aquatic center out of to almost a self-sustainment, which is $1 million a year. He did wonders in the zoo, his potential. He's the only man I've known, and I've known a lot of people, and he's the only man I've never seen mad. I mean, if you draw the line, he's like that. He could have some heated discussions, and he was never get mad. So his loss is not only shocking, but it's a deep hole that'll take us some time to fill. He's going to be missed. We just now got through Hell Week, as I call it, although the kids love it. It's fireworks. And I want to thank the fire department for their help in setting up all the booths, and police department. We had one homeless guy that gave us some trouble. That they took care of that real quick in the evening when we had some problems. It's enjoyable, but it's really a task. I think it's my last one. It's my 25th year in the fireworks booth, and I think I'm running out of steam. But what I've enjoyed the most about the great people, the people of Folsom, the volunteers. I mean, you get to hear the stories of the real city, and you get to meet some outstanding, all the people outstanding. The volunteers, the youth groups, they produce really great people to come work. This year, we are honored to have our managers and assistant managers who are all college kids in college, home for the summer. And you can be real proud of our kids because they're sharp and they know the high tech and everything went well. And Folsom was good, and we didn't have too many fire. I hope none. Well, I'm sure there's none safe and sound fireworks. But I'm disturbed with the amount of illegal fireworks that we confiscated in this city. And I say next year, if the people of Folsom would just not be worried about being a bad neighbor when a guy 2 doors from you is shooting rockets that land on your roof. I mean, I'd rather be a bad neighbor than have no house. Okay, and so we got to get that message across. We haven't really done a high promotion on that. Next year, I think we should go all out to tell our people there's no shame in turning in your neighbor if they're going to risk their life in your home just because they think they grew up shooting rockets. That's ridiculous. But it was I think the sales were good. We're still working it out. I'm still counting numbers, and it's not a 7-day. It's still like about a 7-month operation, which people don't realize. But the police department, I wish I could have a rule. I could wave a wand. My 7 days in the booth over at the Dick's shopping area, I saw more hot rods that just zipped through that parking lot. And I know people say you can't do nothing with them because it's private property. But you know what happens? They go out that parking, they hit Blue Ravine, and they're making the same noise on Blue Ravine as they are in that parking lot. So they are a hazard. And I'm only talking about one shopping center. It's probably not the only one in town. We have got I don't know what the solution, but I sure wish we think real hard about it. Now, maybe we can't make the shopping centers have security and stop some of that. We're going to have a big wreck, and a whole bunch of people are going to get killed. And I think probably 3 out of 10 mufflers on our cars in town are illegal mufflers. They must be. They're the noisiest things I've ever seen in my life. And I only get to see that because I've been 7 days in the nature, listening to all that stuff. So, but overall, it was a great time, and the people of Folsom are as good as you think they are. They are, because I've talked to hundreds of them over that 7 days. So, that's all.
All right, thanks, Ernie. Carrie?
Great job by the chamber and all the hundreds and hundreds of volunteers on the rodeo. It was very, very successful event, as I understand it. I believe they sold out all 3 nights. Thanks and great job to Folsom Fire Department for that massive fire up on the hill. Thank you guys for saving all those homes and making sure that didn't become far, far worse than it did. Shame on whoever was responsible for starting it, whether it was safe and sane or illegal fireworks, I don't care. Any fireworks anywhere near that place was the stupidest thing anybody ever thought to do, and as well as the kids that hang around up there. So And thanks to Folsom PD for taking extra care and attention to make sure that that doesn't become a problem in the future again. Drive carefully. Ernie's pretty much taken over my traffic report. But there are still people rolling through stop signs and driving too quickly. Pretend it's your kids on the sidewalk and your mother's behind you. Have a safe summer.
Thanks, Carrie. So, yeah, just a few items here. I'll just say thank you to Ernie. I mean, if you're really going to hang up your fireworks efforts after 25 years, those efforts of fundraising for the, not only the sports youth groups, but just youth groups in general in the city, for 25 years have benefited many, many folks. In fact, probably kids 25 years ago and now they're kids. But thanks, that just helps make this community a great community. David, you'll be missed. Congratulations, I know you're getting up to where you've been anxious to get to, so thanks for all your service here. And I guess the opportunity here, Mr. City Manager, is since Jim Francis is only running 2 departments right now, I think maybe community development, something he could take on as well.
No, I think
You're
it's
reading
Dave.
my mind.
No, but actually, isn't it Dave Nugent's chance to pay back David Miller?
Chairman's looking better.
But you'll be missed, David, but all the very best. And then lastly, as been articulated, losing Chuck Harrison is a big blow. It's one of those pieces of news you get, and it takes you a minute for it to sink in. It just isn't something that you can process right away. So we will adjourn the meeting in memory of the great life and dedicated service of Chuck Harrison to the city of Folsom. So meeting adjourned.
Thanks.
He was a great guy.
That was a shock.